Chapter 124. The vicissitudes of the mountain range revealed the rings of history. The ancient aura covered the sky and covered the earth. It was majestic and imposing, suppressing the heavens. Inside this paradise that was rich in spiritual energy, the ancient giant trees were lush and verdant. The flowers were red and green, and the spiritual fruits adorned the place. It was extremely beautiful. The spiritual birds were intelligent, and they were more intelligent than the third and fourth grade demonic beasts. They would occasionally circle around Emperor Yi. The bold little birds even directly landed on Emperor Yi's shoulders without the slightest bit of fear. Yi Qinghan gazed at the spirit crystals beneath his feet. He was mining them carefully for fear of damaging the treasures below. The sparkling and translucent spirit crystals were flowing with light. They were even more beautiful and captivating under the sunlight. It was like a glazed crystal palace. The spiritual energy was so dense that it was almost liquid. The parrot's eyes flashed as it shouted, "Be careful. Don't damage my treasures." Yi Qinghan was also very nervous. His breathing was hurried. Every cut was of uncanny workmanship. It was perfect and flawless. The sweat in his palms quickly flowed down along the demon dragon saber. Emperor Yi went into the vein, and Yi Qinghan worked hard as the excavator. She followed behind and collected the spirit crystals. Her strange eyes flickered with a different light as she whispered, "Uncle, there is a different stone about 1 meter to the left. There is something inside the stone. There is also life stirring." Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank. There was something inside the stone. It was actually a living thing. Could it be that they had dug up a sealed evil spirit? "You guys leave this place." Yi Qinghan was incomparably cautious as he said in a deep voice. Emperor Yi lifted his skirt and left the vein. However, the parrot was unwilling to leave. It only ran to the edge and stared at Yi Qinghan's feet. Yi Qinghan drew a square where Emperor Yi pointed. It was 3 meters wide and 5 meters deep. He was afraid that if he destroyed the stone, it would alarm the creatures inside. After digging out this huge spirit crystal, Yi Qinghan directly carried it up and carefully polished the spirit crystal on the outside. The spirit crystal turned into powder and fluttered in the wind. However, it was forcefully pulled by Yi Qinghan's body and turned into spiritual energy that rushed into his body. Not a single bit was wasted. The cube of spirit crystal was getting smaller and smaller. Yi Qinghan's speed was also getting slower and slower. His heartbeat quickened as though he had been struck by lightning. An hour later, a dark stone appeared within the spirit crystal. It was filled with the laws of the great Tao, and the origin flowed within. It emitted a terrifying vibration that could crush one's Tao heart. An ancient aura surged forth and forced Yi Qinghan to take several steps back. Thud. Thud. Yi Qinghan's expression changed greatly. He was alarmed. This was only the tip of the iceberg. It could actually shake him. What the hell was inside? "Parrot, are you sure this stone traveled through countless years just to meet you at this moment?" Yi Qinghan was not sure what was sealed within this stone. However, it was definitely an ancient monster. Once it was born, it could probably slaughter the entire Alfal star. I'm not sure. Why is this thing different from what I imagined? The parrot was speechless. It retreated again and again, not daring to approach. "You don't want it?" Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and asked. Cough, cough. "I don't want this stone. I'll give it to you. Any high-grade spirit crystal will do." The parrot laughed embarrassedly. It did not even dare to approach the stone. Did it want to die? Yi Qinghan casually tossed out a high-grade spirit crystal and walked towards the stone with his saber in hand. There was only 1 meter of stone left. After polishing all of the spirit crystals, there would be less than 1 cubic meter of stone left. Yi Qinghan did not know what kind of thing this stone could seal, and he still could not tell what it was made of. However, the stone that was temporarily exposed was filled with the laws of the great Tao. The ancient sealing method had long been lost. There were no records in the Divine Martial Emperor Codex. This showed the history of this stone. Yi Qinghan continued polishing the stone. He became more and more cautious. More and more of the dark stone was exposed. It was even more breathtaking. It was like an ancient monster that wanted to destroy everything in the universe. After polishing for an entire day, a dark stone that was slightly bigger than a wash basin was revealed. It looked like a black diamond. The sealing formation on it shone brightly and a strong pressure spread out. It was like a living creature that was about to awaken and rule the endless universe. From the outside, the stone did not move at all. However, the creature inside was moving, trying to stretch its body. Yi Qinghan could clearly feel the stone shaking. It was extremely terrifying. This sealed monster had absorbed the essence of spiritual energy for countless years. It was definitely an existence that was comparable to a divine medicine. Its body was even made of a top-grade spirit crystal. Even a 5th-grade combat weapon could not break through it. The thing inside is sleeping, but I can't see what it is. However, it is gradually awakening. The seal on the outside might not be able to hold it for more than a few years, Emperor Yi said in a serious tone. Yes, we can't leave it here. Even if it wants to awaken, it must do so in front of me. Yi Qinghan said in a serious tone. Swoosh! With a wave of his hand, Yi Qinghan stored the stone in a yin and yang ring filled with spirit crystals. He hoped that it could be sealed for a few more years, at least until he recovered to his peak state. After putting away the sealing stone, Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and started mining again. With such a good spirit crystal mine, it was best to excavate it as soon as possible. Only when it was in his hands would it be his. Just like that, Yi Qinghan continued to excavate for an entire month. He had excavated a total of 10 million mid-grade spirit crystals and collected 120 high-grade spirit crystals. The surroundings of the circular lake had been emptied. The spirit liquid in the depths of the lake surged upwards and became the best spirit medicine. Come down and soak in it. The spirit liquid here can cleanse the marrow and bones, refine the body, and change the physique of a person. Yi Qinghan was extremely happy. He did not expect that there would be such a good thing below. Yi Qinghan took out a jar with a large internal space and filled it with a few hundred kilograms of spirit liquid. Then, he took off his clothes and jumped into the spirit liquid pit. He allowed the spirit energy to rush into his body without restraint and flow through his limbs and bones. His body trembled with golden light as if he had a divine body. Divine light flowed and the azure dragon arm almost transformed into a true dragon. It spread its wings and flew away. Even the demon dragon saber automatically inserted itself into the deep pit and frantically absorbed the liquid spirit energy within the spirit liquid. The spirit liquid surged and there seemed to be a creature swimming at the bottom, moving the spirit liquid along. Yi Qinghan was like a bottomless pit as he absorbed the spirit liquid with all his might. The waste water was expelled and his entire body was wrapped in endless spirit energy. His blood was boiling and roaring as his body turned into a divine medicine. It was a mouth-watering sight. The parrot drank the spirit liquid with all its might. It was even crazier and automatically filtered the spirit liquid without swallowing a single drop of waste water. Its body quickly became fat and big. In the end, it floated on top of the spirit liquid, unable to move. It took a long time for the liquid to be completely digested, allowing every inch of its skin to be filled with liveliness. Emperor Yi could feel that Yi Qinghan was cultivating with his eyes closed. His face was slightly red as he took off his clothes and walked into the spirit liquid, leaving only his underwear. His sparkling and translucent skin was adhered to by spirit energy. His skin was as fair as snow and looked as if it could be broken by the wind. It was a pity that his body was too thin and weak. He didn't look like a 13-year-old child, but more like a stunted child. Emperor Yi submerged his body into the spirit liquid and allowed the spirit liquid to transform his body. It washed away the impurities and left behind the essence. His body was changing rapidly. The essence that he had lost back then was now completely replenished in one go. He could even clearly feel the changes in his body. Some parts of his body were numb and his bones felt like they were being reborn. 3 whirlpools formed in the huge pit. The demon dragon blade wasn't inferior to Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's absorption speed at all. Demonic light flowed on the blade's back as if a divine weapon had descended. Emperor Yi caught up from behind. The speed at which he absorbed the spirit liquid almost surpassed Yi Qinghan's. The little sunny egg on his chest and chest were slowly expanding. His black hair was becoming longer and longer, like ink, as it wrapped around the spirit liquid. His face was becoming more and more pure to the point that no one was willing to blaspheme it. Even a shallow glance would be a sin. His slender and delicate legs were sparkling and translucent. They were clearly visible from the surface of the water. They were growing at a speed that was almost visible to the naked eye. His muscles were becoming livelier and more perfect. Emperor Yi groaned softly. It turned into a heavenly sound that was comparable to the most beautiful zither music. The parrot watched as the spirit liquid quickly turned into waste. Its body's capacity was extremely small and could no longer absorb any more spirit energy. It couldn't help but go crazy. Damn it! Why doesn't this divine bird have a strong body? The heavens are really unfair. The parrot was incomparably angry. It directly grabbed the spirit crystal and gnawed on it. Its sharp beak shattered the spirit crystal. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi weren't willing to waste such a good opportunity. They desperately absorbed the spirit liquid and transformed their bodies. The two of them had turned into ancient divine medicine. A drop of spirit blood could revive the dead and regrow flesh and bones. The spirit liquid below was flowing slower and slower. Yi Qinghan's absorption speed could also be reduced. The demon dragon blade had already stopped absorbing energy. It was like a sleeping azure dragon. Once it awoke, it could shatter the heavens, step into the endless universe, and make all living things submit to it. Emperor Ye's transformation was the greatest. His body was at least 30 centimeters taller. He was about 1.65 meters tall. His hair was as black as ink, and his skin was as white as snow. It was sparkling and translucent. A faint smile appeared on his fairy-like face, as if it was about to melt a glacier. When Ren Huangyi saw that the spiritual liquid had completely dissipated, he sensed the majestic and boundless power within his body. He had an inexhaustible supply of energy. His cultivation level and comprehension of secret techniques had improved tremendously. Then, he nodded slightly. Yi Qinghan's voice was deep and hoarse. Without opening his eyes, he reminded Yi Qinghan softly, "Put on your clothes. Go up. You've made up for all the losses you've suffered over the years. Your talent is terrifying beyond compare, and your physical body is also superior. Cultivate well." The parrot glanced at Emperor Yi and muttered, "Demon, demon. One day, I'll find a prettier parrot than you." The corners of Yi Qinghan's mouth curled up as he slowly stood up. Wearing a purple robe, he had a graceful bearing and there was not a trace of impurities in his body. His cultivation had reached the peak of the 8th star of the bitter sea, and his eyes were like an endless sea of bitterness. Once one fell into them, they would be completely lost. His black hair fluttered without wind. He stepped into the sky and stood proudly against the wind. His realm was illusory. Even if there was an expert at the peak of the Fate Palace realm, they might not be able to see through his current realm. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. His 10 fingers reached for the sky, as if he wanted to grasp the heavens. His iron arms clenched, and blue veins popped out. Divine light shone brightly as he rushed into the sky. The demon dragon blade rose from the ground and flew into Yi Qinghan's hand. It was incomparably overbearing, and its demonic aura soared into the sky. With a blade in hand, the world would rise and fall. When the long blade attacked, who could compete with it? Chapter 125. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his aura was monstrous. Even the god of war could not compare to him. Yi Qinghan put away the demon dragon saber and sat cross-legged on the ground. He consolidated his realm and completely stabilized at the 8 stars of the Bitter Sea realm. The vital essence in his sea of qi was almost full. The Bitter Sea was boundless, and the waves were thousands of miles long. On the other side of the Bitter Sea, chaotic lightning roared, the origin was rampant, and the laws were reborn. Emperor Yi gently stroked the divine zither, as if he was a goddess. With him here, this place had become a unique paradise. The melodious sound of the zither pierced through the ages, attracting countless birds and butterflies. From the depths, 2 powerful third-grade beasts walked out. At this moment, they were extremely docile, sitting at the side and listening to the sweet sounds of nature. The 2 god-slaying eagles that were hiding in his body to nourish their bloodline were now drawn out. They stared at Emperor Yi as if they were drunk. After this period of nourishment and today's nourishment, the 2 god-slaying eagles had become stronger. Their bloodline was pure, and there were even signs of atavism. Half a day later, Yi Qinghan broke through the 9 stars of the Bitter Sea. His vital essence was surging and invincible. Any bottleneck was instantly shattered. His soul covered a radius of 100 miles, collecting all things in the world into his sea of consciousness. The patterns of the Great Way were clearly visible. The origin of water wrapped around his body, turning into a 1,000-mile water dragon that circled the 9 heavens. When it raised its head, it shook the firmament. The profound meaning of water was fully revealed. The peak of the minor accomplishment made this place full of vitality. It was as if a miracle had reappeared. Boom, 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 Yi Qinghan's aura erupted. His vital essence was like a torrential river, flowing endlessly. His veins were expanded and almost collapsed. His divine body shone brightly as he broke through the 9 stars of the Bitter Sea. His every movement was accompanied by the laws, and he had an imposing appearance. The 9 stars of the Bitter Sea was only half a step away from the Grotto Heaven realm. Even the first step into the Grotto Heaven realm would increase his battle strength by more than 10 times. Others could not fly for a long time, but it did not mean that he could not. His vital essence was 10 times or even 100 times stronger than others in terms of both quality and quantity. He exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and felt that he had some ability to protect himself. He nodded in satisfaction and looked at the god-slaying eagles. He felt that it was time for them to evolve to the 5th rank. With their potential, even with the shape-shifting technique and the nourishment of his blood, they would not be able to achieve anything without 3 to 5 years. Come, I'll teach you the polymorph technique. Your bloodline has been nourished well these days. It's time for you to cultivate. Whether or not you can reach the 5th rank will depend on your luck, Yi Qinghan said calmly. When the god-slaying eagle heard this, it was instantly overjoyed. It hummed softly and circled Yi Qinghan at a low altitude a few times before obediently staying at Yi Qinghan's feet. It was extremely docile and did not have the might of the god-slaying eagle that was known as the overlord of the sky. This is the difference between the human clan and the 10,000 races. Of course, there are some races with high-level bloodlines that can cultivate, but there are very few of them. They are all the top races of the 10,000 races. They are the overlords of the universe. Any one of them can stir up a territory. The human clan has an advantage, so it is envied by the heavens and the 10,000 races. From the Antiquity Age to the Eternity Age, it extended to the Antiquity Age and even to the present age. The human clan is constantly suppressed by the 10,000 races. The tribulations that the human clan has to go through are also much stronger than the demon clan. As a result, there are not many experts among the human clan. Therefore, your shape-shifting tribulation will be very terrifying. It is very likely that you will be blasted to death. However, once the evolution is completed, your combat power will increase by more than 1,000 times. The difference between the heaven and the earth is like heaven and earth, Yi Qinghan reminded with assurance. The god-slaying eagle nodded desperately. It could not wait to shape-shift now and go through the 5th tribulations, even if it would perish. I am warning you in advance. If you succeed in shape-shifting and break off the contract with me, I will chase you to the ends of the earth and suppress you in the eternal ocean, never to be reincarnated. Yi Qinghan's aura was icy cold. His might shrouded the god-slaying eagle as if a real 5th-level expert had descended. The god-slaying eagle did not dare to move. The god-slaying eagle was terrified. At this moment, it regarded Yi Qinghan as its real master. It did not dare to show any disrespect and nodded repeatedly. Yi Qinghan looked at the 2 god-slaying eagles' performance and could not help but feel satisfied. He nodded and said seriously, "Raise your heads and relax. Don't resist my soul. I will pass the memory of the shape-shifting skill to you." The shape-shifting skill seemed to be a secret skill of little value. However, to demonic beasts, it was a ladder to the 9th heaven. Without the shape-shifting skill, it was almost impossible to achieve great things. The god-slaying eagles tried their best to relax and did not dare to resist. Yi Qinghan pressed both hands on the god-slaying eagle's head and transferred the memory of his consciousness into the god-slaying eagle's mind. It was difficult to understand and made them complain continuously. If there is anything you don't understand, ask the divine bird. It will teach you how to cultivate the shape-shifting skill, Yi Qinghan said lightly. The parrot grinned and mocked, "Eagle, I am the god of all beasts. Why don't you come and worship me? If you dare to be disrespectful, I will bestow upon you a lifetime of 4th level. You can forget about ever comprehending the shape-shifting skill." The god-slaying eagle's dark face twitched. It looked at Yi Qinghan pitifully. Yi Qinghan shrugged and said helplessly, "I have no choice. I don't have time to teach you. Even if I had time, the communication between us would be extremely complicated. If you want to comprehend the shape-shifting skill, you'd better lower your heads. The bloodline of the divine bird is very advanced. It is more than enough to teach you." "That's right. You let me, the king of all beasts, teach you, and you still dare to do this. Even if you beg me in the future, I will not bother with you." The parrot threatened arrogantly. The god-slaying eagle, Yi Qinghan did not have time to accompany them. He turned and entered the mountain range again, ready to extract all the remaining spirit crystals. "From today onwards, I am the eldest. You are the 2nd and 3rd. You must remember that if there are benefits, don't forget about your eldest brother. If there is danger, you must stand at the front and not let your eldest brother be threatened. Otherwise, how can you comprehend the shape-shifting skill in the future?" The parrot raised its head and puffed out its chest. Its wings were inserted into its thighs. It was like a powerhouse that looked down on all living beings and reprimanded its juniors. However, its body was too small. In front of the god-slaying eagle, it was like a tiny dot that could be ignored. It looked very comical. Emperor Yi burst into laughter. The music stopped. The ferocious beasts outside were unwilling to retreat. They bowed to Emperor Yi and retreated respectfully. The green bird took the air and hundreds of butterflies flew away. The valley became quiet. Emperor Yi stood up slowly. The glazed skirt was a little short and could only cover half of her thigh. Her long and slender legs were exposed. Her long hair fluttered in the wind. She looked like a goddess that had walked out of a comic book. "Divine bird, can you not be so funny?" Emperor Yi mocked with a faint smile. "Humph. This divine bird is naturally intelligent and can see through the origin of all things. Just like you, you were so small and flat back then. Even when you wore men's clothes, Master didn't even notice that you were a little girl. Didn't this divine bird see through you with one glance? Are you still not convinced? The parrot snorted and retorted with dissatisfaction. TSK. At that time, I was too embarrassed to argue with you. What are you being so arrogant for? Isn't it just that your soul is a little stronger and you can speak human language? What's so great about that? Emperor Yi curled his lips and said. Humph, one day you will understand the strength of this divine bird. I will not argue with a child like you. The man and the bird quarreled endlessly, but neither of them took it seriously. Perhaps the valley was too boring. Quarreling with each other added a lot of fun. After staying in the valley for another half a month, Yi Qinghan tirelessly excavated spiritual crystals. With the strength of one person, he had excavated 15 million middle-grade spiritual crystals and 200 upper-grade spiritual crystals the size of washbasins. They were priceless. At this moment, at the front of the Demon Valley, a huge cloud-piercing boat appeared. At least 100 disciples walked out from it. The lowest cultivation was at the 9th star of the Bitter Sea realm and the highest was at the 4th step of the Grotto Heaven realm. Everyone's body was extremely tyrannical. Light flowed around them and their blood was vigorous. They were definitely the best of the younger generation. Following the young man was a powerful old man of the Tao Master realm. His cultivation was at the early stage of the Tao Master realm. His aura was restrained and the will in his eyes caused the surrounding air to stagnate. Next to the old man stood a young expert of the first step of the Fate Palace realm. His invincible aura swept across the sky and shocked all living things. He was 2 meters tall and had a very strong ancient bloodline. The experiencers of the Stand Star. They did not expect to arrive at this moment. However, they seemed to have arrived a little late, as Yi Qinghan and the parrot were already in front of them. The real treasures had all been plundered, and the remaining items were all trash. Even the parrot didn't care about the items, let alone these people. Although the Owlfall star is small, it has not been stepped on for hundreds of years. There will be many good things. How much you can get depends on your luck. If you want to enter the Stan family, it will depend on you. The Supreme Battle King tournament will begin in a few years. If you want to participate, you must be qualified as a direct descendant of the Stan family. Otherwise, how can you participate in the Supreme Battle King tournament? The old man looked down at the young disciples and said in a low voice. There were many side branches of the Stan family. Not everyone could join the Stan family. If one wanted to join the Stan family, one must be a king among men, an invincible king who had never lost a battle. The side branches of the Stan family all regarded joining the Stan family as an honor. If one of them joined the Stan family, the whole side branch would rise and the resources they received would be doubled. Stan Yunchen, this time you will lead the team and train for a year. I will visit some families in the Owlfall Star and collect offerings. If you encounter any danger that you cannot resist, remember to send a distress signal. I will arrive in half an hour at most, the old man said in a low voice as he looked at the young king beside him. Stan Yunchen raised the corner of his mouth and sneered arrogantly. The creatures here can't hurt me. Don't worry, third uncle. In a year, I will definitely step into the 2nd step of the Fate Palace and receive the call of the Stan family. I will become a direct descendant of the Stan family. The old man seemed to have a lot of trust in Stan Yunchen. He nodded and waved his hand to take the cloud-piercing ship. His figure flashed and disappeared from the Demon Valley. Stan Yunchen led the disciples through the desolate ancient forest and entered the Demon Valley continent. He found that the spiritual qi in the surroundings was indeed good. However, compared to the blessed lands and grotto heavens back at home, the difference was huge. There were many spiritual herbs around, but none of them were above the 3rd grade. Stan Yunchen frowned and said in a cold voice, "Let's go deeper." "What kind of rubbish is this? A place that hasn't descended for 300 years is like this? The Owl Falls star is too rubbish." What they didn't know was that there was nothing good in front of them. The parrot was right in front of them. Anything above the 3rd grade was taken away by it. Chapter 126. Stan Yunchen led hundreds of young experts with an imposing aura, causing all the beasts in his path to flee. His ancient blood and chi aura spread out in all directions, intimidating everyone within 1,000 miles. After traveling for more than 300 miles, Stan Yunchen's expression became more and more unsightly. How could there not be a single grade 3 spirit herb in this place that had been abandoned for hundreds of years? Why wasn't there even a single powerful beast? "Big Brother Yunchen, I noticed that someone was here not long ago. Someone beat us to it." A young expert rushed to Stan Yunchen's side and said. "What? Damn it! This is the backyard of my Stan clan. Who dares to beat us to it?" Stan Yunchen was furious. His aura erupted as he shouted coldly, "Follow me into the depths. I want to see who is so bold as to compete with my Stan clan for treasures." Boom! Nearly 100 people gathered from all directions with Stan Yunchen in the lead as they rushed into the depths. Their imposing aura stirred up the clouds and the moon. After traveling for more than 300 miles, Yi Qinghan had dug out all the spirit crystals. However, he did not destroy the foundation of this place. After a few years, it would become a huge vein. After spending 2 months here, Yi Qinghan was prepared to go deeper and look for treasures. The berserker was broken, so he had to find a better material to create a true berserker. "Let's go." Yi Qinghan led Emperor Yi and the parrot into the depths. Ahead of them was the true Demon Valley continent. Countless demons lived there, including tigers, wolves, bears, pythons, foxes, and other unknown creatures. Each of them was incomparably powerful. In front of them was an endless forest that stretched as far as the eye could see. However, there were not many mountain ranges. It was a flat continent that had countless shrubs and forests because there were no humans. It was a paradise for demons. The spiritual chi was overwhelming. Emperor Yi danced gracefully, attracting countless spiritual butterflies. Roar! The beast growled as it looked at Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan from afar. Its eyes were filled with hostility and goodwill. Clearly, the goodwill was directed at Emperor Yi, but the hostility was directed at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan wielded the demon dragon saber that was almost 8 feet long. His demonic aura was oppressive, intimidating the ferocious beasts. Many ferocious beasts appeared in the surroundings, but none of them dared to approach. "Ha ha ha, if those guys from the Stan Star come here and find out that we have taken all the treasures, will they kill us?" The parrot said with a smug look. Yi Qinghan mocked, "They will catch you, tie you to the grill and burn you alive." Before Yi Qinghan could finish his sentence, his expression changed slightly. He turned back to look at the void and frowned. He hurriedly said, "Fuck, you should just change your name to Crow." What a jinx! The two rushed towards the Demon Valley continent and instantly disappeared into the forest. They concealed their auras and hid in the mountains. Looking at Stan Yunchen in the sky, they realized that there was a large number of experts following closely behind. They immediately understood the other party's identity. "Fuck, I was just saying. Why are they really here?" The parrot was speechless. "Fuck, even a crow's mouth is not as good as my own mouth." The leader of the Stan Star's trainees is Stan Yunchen. He's one of the best of the younger generation. I reckon that they will find us soon. Cooperate well later. There are still some people behind them. Don't get into a conflict with them. There are so many of them that they can eat us alive, Yi Qinghan reminded them. The parrot was scared out of its wits. It did not dare to be arrogant with these people. The young experts of the Stan clan were not the same as those on Owlfall Planet. Any one of them could be one of the top 5 young experts on Owlfall Planet. If they were besieged by more than 100 people, they would be able to kill Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi even without Stan Yunchen making a move. My son, even if I start fighting with them later, don't reveal the divine zither. Do you understand? Yi Qinghan transmitted his voice. Emperor Yi concealed his aura and nodded slightly. Stan Yunchen's face sank. He glanced at the wilderness and frowned. He muttered to himself, my origin tracing technique is ineffective. Their auras are gone. Before Yi Qinghan and Renhuang Yi came here, they didn't expect that the people of Stan Planet would be so coincidental. Stan Yunchen was able to follow them here by relying on the remnants of the origin energy. It was obvious that his cultivation was extraordinary. Humph, they must have found out that I was looking for them, so they deliberately concealed their aura. They shouldn't have run far. Stan Yunchen's eyes were like torches as he scanned the surroundings. He noticed that there weren't many mountain ranges in this area. There was only one mountain 3 to 5 miles away. The other places couldn't hide. He sneered and stepped on the mountain peak, overlooking the small mountain range. His divine sense swept past Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi, who were hiding in a cave, but he did not find them. He only found the parrot, which made it tremble and almost fall down. It was just a bird, so Stan Yunchen did not care. Damn, so powerful. He is even more powerful than Tang Sheng and the others, the parrot said, trembling. Humph, this is not his strongest point. You will know when he fights. His combat power is not something that Owlfall Planet can compare with, Yi Qinghan transmitted his voice coldly. Stan Yunchen glanced around. His aura became colder and colder. He shouted coldly, come out. This place is not big. Do you think you can hide from me? Yi Qinghan frowned. Indeed, there were too many people of the Stan Star. If they worked together to check this mountain carefully, no matter how strong he was, he would not be able to hide from them. You stay here. I will go out and find out his purpose. After transmitting his voice, Yi Qinghan quietly went out of the cave and appeared in another place. When he looked up, he found that Stan Yunchen had locked on to him. As they looked at each other, Si Yunchen's eyes lit up in surprise. He didn't expect that this young man, who seemed to be in his teens, would be able to avoid the detection of his soul consciousness. Who are you? Why are you in the Demon Valley continent? Stan Yunchen frowned and asked. Yi Qinghan pretended to be afraid. He bowed and said, Greetings, Senior. I am Ing Feng, a native of the Owlfall Planet. Senior should be from the famous Stan Star of the Owlfall territory, right? Good, you are smart. You know about the Stan Star. Stan Yunchen snorted and asked, where were you just now? Why couldn't I find you? I am a third-grade assassin of the blood evil. I practice the invisibility art. So, it is difficult for others to find me as long as I don't let myself be found. Yi Qinghan cupped his fists and said. Invisibility art, a third-grade secret technique. You are quite talented to be able to practice it to this level. Stan Yunchen nodded. He did not put Yi Qinghan in his eyes. After all, anyone with a little talent could reach the 9 stars of the Bitter Sea at such a young age. Let me ask you, why are you in the Demon Valley continent? Don't you know that this is the forbidden area of the Owlfall Planet? Stan Yunchen asked coldly. Senior, there was a beast tide a few days ago, and some experts attacked this place. My niece and I wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to obtain some demon cores, so we secretly followed them. However, the human experts retreated halfway. For the sake of our safety, we had no choice but to carefully hide. Yi Qinghan bowed and said. Wait, there is no trace of a battle behind us. How dare you lie to me? Stan Yunchen's breath turned cold as he fixed his gaze on Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan pretended to tremble and bowed. The demon beasts lured the enemy in. The Fate Palace Realm seniors saw through it and did not chase after them. They took more than 10 Grotto Heaven Realm experts and plundered some treasures in the periphery. There was no battle. Please investigate. Stan Yunchen was furious at the mention of the treasures being plundered. All the spiritual herbs within a radius of 300 miles had been plundered. Apart from Fate Palace Realm experts, no one in the 9 stars of the Bitter Sea could do such a thing. He immediately believed Yi Qinghan's words. Damn bastards! When this training is over, I will settle accounts with them. Stan Yunchen shouted coldly. Yi Qinghan lowered his head and smiled. As long as he could deceive him now, once he left the Demon Valley, even if he was discovered, he would go find trouble with Ing Feng, not Yi Qinghan. Not to mention, once he left the Demon Valley, Yi Qinghan would reach the Grotto Heaven Realm. Even if he couldn't kill them, he could at least escape. Stan Yunchen looked at Yi Qinghan coldly and scolded disdainfully, "How dare you come to the Demon Valley continent with your strength and a child? You are courting death. Get out now. Don't you know that this is the backyard of the Stan Star?" "Yes, I will leave now." Yi Qinghan bowed and cupped his fists. He then turned and walked out. Stan Yunchen stared at Yi Qinghan's back for a while. He did not find anything special about him, so he stopped paying attention to him. Yi Qinghan sneered. He could predict Stan Yunchen's attitude. He was just like Khan Stan, who thought that God was number 1 and he was number 2. He did not care about those of the same level, let alone those of a lower level. Now was not the time to start a conflict with Stan Yunchen. He would endure it if he could. Enduring it for a while was a victory for a lifetime. If he could not endure it now, whether he could escape or not was another matter. Soon, more than 100 disciples rushed over from behind. Each of them was arrogant and looked at Yi Qinghan with contempt. However, since Yi Qinghan had already defeated Stan Yunchen, they did not bother to kill him. However, some of them were not willing to let Yi Qinghan off so easily. "Stop. This is the forbidden area of the Si Tan clan. You must have obtained a lot of treasures after coming in. Hand over the universal mirror." The 2 first-step Grotto Heaven experts blocked Yi Qinghan's path and said coldly. Stan Yunchen glanced at them but did not stop them. After all, this was the private property of the Stan clan. It would be good enough if they could spare Yi Qinghan's life. "You want to leave with the universal ring?" Yi Qinghan frowned. He did not expect that these juniors would be so reckless as to set their eyes on his universal ring. Each of his 3 universal rings contained nearly 10 million mid-grade spirit crystals and 200 high-grade spirit crystals. The last one contained a stone that sealed an ancient evil spirit. Once it was released, not only these juniors, but the entire Stan clan would be wiped out. Obviously, he could not give them the 3 universal rings. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and said, "Seniors, these are my belongings for several years. They are worth several spirit crystals. Please be magnanimous." "Ha ha ha, several spirit crystals. Low grade? How dare these bumpkins come to the Demon Valley continent?" Ha ha ha, everyone laughed crazily. How could they not laugh at the fact that the young disciples of Stan's branch could get a subsidy of 1,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals every year? Who would care about a few spirit crystals? Ahem, let me explain. It means paying to read the book. This thing is very important to us authors. If you like this book, please support paying to read it. It's so cheap, but it can change my fate. Chapter 127. At the entrance of the Demon Valley, the spiritual grass was lush, and the shrubs were dozens of meters tall. Some 10,000-year-old ancient trees were over 100 meters tall. It was full of vicissitudes. The young people of the Stan Star were all tall and sturdy. At this moment, more than a dozen people surrounded Yi Qinghan with mocking faces, as if a group of adults bullying a child. After all, Yi Qinghan was only 1.8 meters tall. Compared to these 2 meters tall men, he looked very delicate. A Grotto Heaven Realm youth said coldly, "Kid, no matter how many pieces you have in your yin and yang ring, hand them all over." "I want your yin and yang ring." Yi Qinghan frowned and looked at Stan Yunchen. He said in a low voice, "Fellow Taoists, when did the powerful Stan family start to rob?" "Fuck. What is robbery? Kid, do you not want to live anymore? You are now stealing from our Stan Star's back garden, and we caught you. Shouldn't you hand over the things you stole? Why are you talking nonsense with him? Kill him. Those who humiliate the Stan family will die." The few youths were all in the first step of the Grotto Heaven realm. They were filled with killing intent as they locked onto Yi Qinghan, waiting for Stan Yunchen's order. "Little brother, you should hand over your yin and yang ring. The Stan family doesn't bully people, but we won't let a thief steal anything from our back garden." A girl who looked about 17 or 18 years old walked out of the crowd. She was 1.75 meters tall, had a voluptuous figure, and slender legs. She was dressed like Huafei. Her appearance and temperament might even be better than Huafei's. She was Stan Night Spirit, the strongest female cultivator of the Stan family. Her cultivation had reached the second step of the Grotto Heaven realm, and she was definitely one of the best of the younger generation. Stan Night Spirit's eyes were like full moons. She hugged an ancient sword and looked down on everyone. She was valiant and heroic, showing the aura of a king. "I'm sorry, I can't give you my yin and yang ring." Yi Qinghan shook his head and cautiously retreated. A figure flashed, and an iron fist pierced through space. Burning spiritual qi, it went straight for Yi Qinghan. "Looking for death, it seems you won't give up until you die." Whoosh, the sound of air being torn apart rang out incessantly as the fist arrived at Yi Qinghan's forehead in the blink of an eye. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. With his hands behind his back, Yi Qinghan gently turned around and threw an iron fist at the side of Yi Qinghan's face. His black hair fluttered in the wind, looking extremely elegant. Thud, 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 the attacker did not expect Yi Qinghan to be able to dodge it. He staggered and fell forward. Yi Qinghan gently lifted his foot and hit the attacker's ankle. The attacker was caught off guard and fell to the ground. Bang! Yi Qinghan's opponent fell flat on his face. He was battered and exhausted, and this caused the crowd to laugh maniacally. There were also some people who were on good terms with the attacker, and they were furious. Their murderous intent enveloped Yi Qinghan. "Ha ha ha, Stanquang, you're really getting worse and worse." Facing a bumpkin from the 9 stars of the Bitter Sea, you took the initiative to attack and fell flat on your face. How are you going to face others in the future? Didn't you claim to be invincible among your peers? This bumpkin is at the same level as you. Stanquang, if you can't take revenge today, don't even think about participating in the king naming competition in the future. Go home and stay. The people of Stanquang were not necessarily united. When one person fell into the water, there would always be a few people who would jump out to beat him up. Fuck. You dare to sneak attack me. Stanquang clenched his iron fist and climbed up from the ground in a sorry state. His eyes revealed a ferocious glint, and his blood and qi roared as he rushed toward Yi Qinghan again. Yi Qinghan used ethereal flying immortal and stellar transposition to dodge continuously. Every time, he easily dodged Stanquang's fatal attack, which attracted Stanquang's curiosity. With his hands behind his back and his black hair fluttering, Stanquang curiously looked at Yi Qinghan and Stanquang. Obviously, he did not expect Yi Qinghan to be on par with Stanquang. He wanted to see Yi Qinghan's true strength. After all, everyone knew that Yi Qinghan had not used much of his strength. The battle was completely one-sided. Or rather, Yi Qinghan was toying with Stanquang. He did not fight back and only dodged a few times, causing Stankwang to be in a sorry state. Fuck your mother. If you have the guts, fight me head-on. Trash who only knows how to dodge really knows how to be sneaky. Stankwang's speed was not as fast as Yi Qinghan's. At this moment, he was furious and cursed loudly. Yi Qinghan frowned. He only wanted Stankwang to retreat. He did not expect Stankwang to be so reckless as to fight him head-on. Why do you have to force me to make a move? Do you think that I won't dare to make a move because you have more people on your side? Yi Qinghan coldly said. Defeat him in one move, and I will let you go. The corner of Stankwang's mouth rose, revealing a trace of disdain and ridicule. He looked down on Stankwang and Yi Qinghan. All right. Yi Qinghan clenched his right fist and used the azure dragon arm. Veins popped out all over his body and a luster flowed around him. I can't reveal my full strength. Otherwise, Stankwang Yunchen will definitely not let me go. In the end, he might not stop until one of us is dead. Yi Qinghan thought inwardly. This was not the right time for a battle. He was not confident that he could escape with Emperor Yi. 40% of his strength was enough to deal with Stankwang. The Berserk Tiger Fist was an ordinary grade 3 secret technique. Yi Qinghan's aura flickered. His aura was as wild as a ferocious tiger, incomparably tyrannical. He coldly looked at Stankwang, preparing to defeat him in one move. Veins popped out all over Stankwang's body as he shouted, blood explosion technique, blood burning the 9 heavens. I will show you what a real Stankwang. You talk too much. Boom. Roar. Yi Qinghan took the initiative to attack. His iron fist pierced through the air. His body was like a ferocious tiger released from its cage. He leaped up like a king descending. A wild tiger phantom shot out from his back, seizing the opponent's soul. Stankwang Yunchen stared at Yi Qinghan's right fist. He discovered that his fist was glowing with a golden light and his right arm was flowing with a luster. It was completely different from an ordinary person's arm. He immediately understood that Yi Qinghan's right arm had been refined with a special material. Boom! The iron fist and Stankwang's huge fist collided. Yi Qinghan twisted his toes and moved his waist. He rotated his arm and suddenly exerted force, using the inch strike technique. He erupted with 10 times the strength and broke through Stankwang's defense. Gotcha! Ah! Stankwang only felt that he had hit a red-hot soldering iron. The corner of his mouth twitched and his ferocious face changed shape. His right fist was bleeding and his right arm was bleeding. The ear-piercing sound of broken bones spread in all directions. Blood splattered everywhere. His body was like a kite with a broken string. He screamed miserably and fell backward. Everyone's pupils shrank as they looked at Yi Qinghan. Their eyes were filled with killing intent and hostility. He could break the bones in Stankwang's arm with one punch. Moreover, he was in the same realm. How terrifying was such a monster? How strong must his right arm be? In an instant, at least 4 experts in the first step of the Grotto Heaven realm surrounded him. The killing intent in their eyes was undisguised. Yi Qinghan frowned. He looked at Stankwang Yunchen and said in a serious voice, "What? Is the Stankwang star in decline? Do you need to take turns to fight me? Kid, you think too highly of yourself. I wanted to spare your life, but you disrespected the Stankwang star. If I don't teach you a lesson today, it will damage the dignity of the Stankwang star." Stankwang Yunchen sneered and said to the 4 powerful youths in the Grotto Heaven realm, "Destroy his sea of qi. Ask him to scram." Swish. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly. The demon knife appeared in his hand. His aura surged and instantly suppressed everyone. His cold and arrogant eyes looked down at everyone. The anger in his heart could no longer be contained. I thought the king of the Stankwang star had some tolerance. Now, it seems that you are just as so. Yi Qinghan mocked coldly. Yeah. This knife. Everyone in the Stangquang Star was overjoyed. They were all people with powerful physical bodies and had strict requirements for weapons. Most of them used knives. The more powerful and heavy the knife, the more they liked it. Put down the knife and hand over the Qian Kun ring. I might let you die quickly. Surround him. This guy is pretty fast. Don't let him get away. More and more people were interested in ganging up on Yi Qinghan. There were more than 100 people in total. At least 30 of them surrounded him. The rest were all very powerful youths. They disdained to make a move on Yi Qinghan. Stangquang Yinshan's eyes flashed. He looked at the long knife in Yi Qinghan's hand and said in surprise, "It's the Green Dragon Demon Slayer knife." The knife used by the Green Dragon Holy Man in the past killed countless demon beasts and gathered endless baleful qi. It is very difficult for ordinary people to resist. Otherwise, when the baleful qi enters the body, there is an 80 to 90% chance of qi deviation. However, this knife is suitable for the Stangquang Star. Our bloodline is noble and can suppress the baleful qi. Back then, the Stangquang Star wanted to fight for it. Unfortunately, the Green Dragon Holy Man was too powerful. In order to prevent others from saying that the Stangquang Star bullied others, we had to give up. I didn't expect to meet you today. Stangquang Yinshan's face was full of excitement. He took a step forward and appeared in front of Yi Qinghan. He stood in the air and looked down at him. He ordered, "Leave the knife and I will spare you this time. I won't destroy your sea of qi." A domineering king's aura gushed out of Stangquang Yinshan's body and covered a radius of more than 10 miles. His aura was much more terrifying than that of Tang Sheng and the others. Yi Qinghan's face turned serious. He didn't expect Stangquang Yinshan to do this. It seemed that there was going to be a battle today. Whoosh, the parrot and Emperor Yi rushed out of the cave and stood beside Yi Qinghan. Fuck, a bunch of shameless little bitches. What Stan Star? It's the shameless star. They only know how to bully others with their power, bully others with their numbers, and bully others with their realms. The parrot couldn't help but curse loudly. You're courting death. How dare you insult the Stangquang Star? This bird is so despicable. I'm going to catch it and teach it a lesson. A few people rushed out of the crowd and became interested in the parrot. The parrot's face changed. It rushed to Emperor Ye's shoulder and hid in his hair. What a spirited little girl. Ha ha ha, I like her. She'll be my maid. A powerful Grotto Heaven Realm expert stared at Emperor Yi with desire in his eyes. He took a step forward and reached out to grab Emperor Yi. Whoosh! A cold light flashed and a saber light broke through the sky. Then, blood splattered everywhere. An arm flew into the sky and blood dyed the sky red. Yi Qinghan put away his saber and retreated with Emperor Yi. The murderous look in his eyes was self-evident. He could be humiliated, but Emperor Yi couldn't. Whoever dared to reach out to her, he would cut off their hand. Chapter 128. With a flash of the saber radiance, the arm was chopped off. Stansio's face turned pale as he looked at his right arm being chopped off from the shoulder. Blood splattered everywhere, and he forgot to scream. Everyone was stunned. Yi Qinghan's speed was too fast and too powerful. They didn't even have the chance to react before a Grotto Heaven Realm expert's arm was completely crippled. The wound on the severed arm was crushed by the vital essence, and there was no vitality left. Without a Tier 6 elixir or above, it was impossible to recover. No one was willing to use a Tier 6 elixir on a Grotto Heaven Realm youth, not to mention that Stansio was only a mid-tier genius. It was too extravagant and wasteful to use a Tier 6 elixir. After a long time, Stansio finally reacted. He couldn't help but roar. His roar shook the heavenly river. Damn bastard! How dare you cripple my right arm? Today, I will torture you to death. Stancio was a Grotto Heaven realm expert after all. He burned his vital essence to the extreme, and his vital essence poured out. He transformed into a divine saber that pierced through the sky and went straight for Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up. His aura rose, and he was indomitable. He was the saber that represented the great success of the saber Tao. He was able to intimidate all techniques and activate the great Tao. His left hand turned into a saber and slashed across the sky. Boom! The hand saber wasn't inferior to the giant saber shadow that Stancio unleashed. The two collided, and their aura soared. The spiritual herbs in the surroundings were uprooted by the aura. It was extremely terrifying. Rub, 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 after one move, there was no clear victor. However, Stancio was forced to retreat a few steps. His face was as pale as paper, and he was shocked. He looked at Yi Qinghan unwillingly. He didn't expect that Yi Qinghan's left hand could be on par with his all-out attack. Yi Qinghan took half a step back. His face was cold as he stood in front of Emperor Yi to protect him. He looked at everyone with disdain. To be able to fight against 100 experts alone, this required not only courage, but also an invincible battle posture. Instead of being shocked, Stancio laughed. He didn't stop Yi Qinghan. He stared at Yi Qinghan with interest, wanting to see how strong he was. Brat, you've successfully angered me. Stancio's face was pale. He used his vital essence to seal his wound. His eyes shot out a hazy light, and his body shone brightly. His blood was boiling. He madly formed a seal with one hand and summoned his natal spiritual saber. It hung above his head and was about to cut open the sky. To be able to exert such combat power with only one arm, the combat power of Stan's bloodline was indeed top-notch. They fought without regard for their lives, and no one was willing to go against them. Yi Qinghan was not afraid at all. The veins on his azure dragon arm bulged, and the demon dragon saber's energy leaked out. The demon dragon's aura covered the sky and earth. Even the Stan clan, who did not care about their lives, was intimidated. Stan Yinshan's interest in the devil dragon saber was getting more and more intense. His fingers trembled slightly as if he wanted to snatch the saber. However, he managed to restrain himself for the time being. The saber controls 10,000 techniques, shattering all directions. Blood saber reaches the sky, all enemies submit. Stancio roared loudly. The wound on his right arm spurted out blood and dyed the ground red. The long blade above his head exploded with a monstrous evil aura, emitting a blood-red color. It was extremely sinister. Stancio has actually cultivated the blood blade technique to the 4th level. It seems like there is no suspense in this battle. That's right. The blood blade technique is a 5th grade secret technique. It can trigger the great Tao of the saber and is invincible. There are few opponents in the same realm. If he can reach the 5th level within 100 years and enter the main meridian, there is hope for his right arm to recover. Everyone from Stan's bloodline revealed a tinge of envy in their eyes as they discussed animatedly. Kill. Stancio used his true origin energy and the momentum of heaven and earth to control the long blade. The sharp blade radiance was like lightning, shattering the void and descending from the sky towards Yi Qinghan. Its speed was unparalleled, and there was no way to dodge. He could only face it head-on. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up as he gently pushed Emperor Yi away. He held the saber with both hands and poured his true origin energy into the demon saber. He activated the supreme demonic aura that covered the sky and earth. Swish. 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 The shackles of time and space existed but were not solid. At this moment, they were like solid rotten wood that was destroyed by the saber aura. The shattering sound was soul-stirring and made one's liver and guts feel like they were being torn apart. Saber of parting hands, break. Yi Qinghan's saber left his hand and slashed upwards. A huge dragon-shaped phantom shot out from the demon saber, shattering the heavens as it rushed towards the clouds. Boom! The two sabers crossed and collided with each other. The ear-piercing sound pierced through the eardrums. The experts in the surroundings all retreated, unwilling to bear the destructive power of the aftershock. The sand and stones on the ground flew and pierced through the ancient trees. Crack! Stansio's saber shattered into pieces and shot into the void. Puff! Stansio's soul controlled the saber. Once the saber shattered, his soul immediately suffered a heavy blow. He spat out a mouthful of essence blood as his face turned pale. He flew back dozens of meters and fell onto the ground, unconscious. Hiss! Hiss! Everyone gasped as they looked at Yi Qinghan in shock. He was not injured at all and felt that it was unbelievable. A Grotto Heaven Realm expert, and one from Stan's bloodline, had an unparalleled physical body. He should be a king of the same realm as him. But facing Yi Qinghan, he was defeated twice in a row. Who was from Stan's bloodline? Who was the one with an unparalleled physical body? Not bad. Interesting. Follow me from now on. I will protect you and you will be glorious in the future, Stan Yunchen said proudly as he rushed toward Yi Qinghan with an unparalleled battle stance. He was prepared to take Yi Qinghan as a slave. Experts liked to take in slaves, and the more talented they were, the more they liked them. Without a few kings as slaves, one could not be considered an expert. Stan Yunchen had not taken in a slave yet, and Yi Qinghan had piqued his interest. Brother Yunchen, he injured several of my brothers. Are you going to let him go just like that? Some people were dissatisfied and wanted to kill Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was indeed too strong and had aroused their hostility. Shut up. Being injured by a 9 stars of the bitter sea child only shows that you are stupid and incompetent. Stan Yinchen's aura suddenly turned cold as he berated angrily. Yi Qinghan sneered. He did not expect that after his rebirth, so many people would want to take him in as a slave. Xian Wuyu was one of them, and now Stan Yunchen was also one of them. Was it a trend to take in slaves now? But who had the ability to take him in as a slave? But now was not the time to fight. Pretending to be obedient and looking for an opportunity to leave the group. Only after breaking through to the Grotto Heaven realm would he make a move was the best choice. Yi Qinghan was not a child, and he could endure humiliation. However, the parrot was not willing to be humiliated. Just as it was about to rebuke Yi Qinghan, it was suppressed by Yi Qinghan. Ing Feng greets Senior. Although Ing Feng is not willing to be Senior's slave, he is willing to follow Senior and help Senior, Yi Qinghan said as he put away the devil dragon saber and bowed with cupped fists. Ha ha ha, good. You have character. Although you are willing to work for me, you are not willing to be a slave. Just because of this, I will take you in. Follow me, and I will bring you to the position of an invincible king and prove the great Tao. Follow me to the forbidden area and show the glory of the human race. Stan Yunchen laughed wildly and looked disdainfully at everyone. His whole body was full of the aura of a king, which made people feel awe and veneration. Yi Qinghan sneered. Stan Yunchen was still not good enough to prove the great Tao and suppress the evil spirits in the forbidden area. With his talent, entering a rank 6 immortal sect was already a blessing from his ancestors. Thank you very much, Senior. Yi Qinghan smiled and cupped his fists. Senior, I have a treasure that I would like to give to you. Oh. What treasure? Show it to me, Stan Yunchen said proudly. He thought that Yi Qinghan was going to show his sincerity by offering him a treasure. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and grabbed the parrot. The parrot's hair stood on end, and it immediately shouted, Master, you can't give me away. I will be chaste all my life and will never serve another master. Shut up. Later, we will lead them to a dangerous place and find a chance to escape, Yi Qinghan secretly transmitted his voice to the parrot. A crafty look flashed across the parrot's eyes as it pretended to be frightened. It hugged Yi Qinghan's large hand with its claws and refused to let go. This kind of acting was full of spirituality and was definitely at the level of an award-winning actor. Oh! What kind of treasure is this parrot? It looks smart, like a pet, not a spiritual pet. Stan Yunchen was curious and was amused by the human-like expression and actions of the parrot. Senior, don't underestimate this parrot. It is a spirit-devouring godly eagle with the ancient bloodline. It has a special ability to sense the treasures in the world. Any numinous treasure within 300 miles won't be able to escape its senses, Yi Qinghan said seriously. Oh! There is such a treasure. Stan Yunchen was overjoyed. Possessing such a treasure was equivalent to possessing a supreme fortune. Which Dao-confirming expert didn't possess supreme fortune? Senior, if you don't believe me, we can give it a try, Yi Qinghan said respectfully. When the parrot heard Yi Qinghan praising it, it immediately became arrogant. However, Stan Yunchen was a little doubtful. He couldn't help but say disdainfully, this divine bird is the #1 divine bird in all of history. How can such a small matter trouble me? Then help me find a spiritual medicine of 4th grade or above. You must find it quickly and accurately. Don't waste my time. Stan Yunchen was a little excited. He gazed at the parrot and asked expectantly. The parrot flapped its wings, and its fat body looked particularly funny. It looked at the depths of the Demon Valley. Suddenly, its eyes lit up and it laughed wildly. How can such a small matter trouble me? There is a mountain 100 miles southwest of here. There is a treasure there. Although I don't know what it is definitely at least 4th grade or above. Stan Yunchen smiled faintly. He was in a hurry to test it out. Yi Qinghan and the others also rushed over. 1 hour later, they arrived at the mountain range. This place was filled with spiritual energy. There was a stalk of rank for red flame spiritual grass. It had 7 leaves in total and looked like flames. The temperature in the surroundings was extremely high. It was a top rank for spiritual grass that had gathered the essence of the sun and the moon. It was a rank 4 spiritual grass that was extremely useful in comprehending the fire elemental profound. Ha ha ha, it is indeed a treasure. Ing Foam, you have done a great service today. When we get out of the Demon Valley, I will give you a 4th grade secret technique. Stan Yunchen was overjoyed and signaled for the parrot to be brought over. The parrot pretended to be loyal and cried loudly, Master, my ancestors have been loyal to the cause. You can't let me serve another master. I can't live without you. The parrot of valiant bravery moved many people and made them fall in love with this cute parrot. However, Yi Qinghan couldn't help but sneer. This lowly bird, if an invincible existence came, it would immediately go over and hug his thigh. Valiant bravery. Fuck, the sun would rise from the west. What a cute parrot. It is so intelligent. If only I had one. Stan Night Spirit's eyes lit up and said excitedly. Stan Yunchen laughed and said proudly, if you follow me in the future, I will definitely let you enjoy endless glory and wealth. Yi Qinghan looked at the parrot that was still pretending to be valiant bravery and secretly transmitted, stop pretending. That's enough. Master, I will definitely help you kill them. You can't leave me alone. The parrot secretly said and then looked back with reluctance. Its superb acting made Emperor Ye's mouth twitch. He wanted to laugh but didn't dare to. Chapter 129. The performance of the parrot was superb, winning the hearts of the young warriors from the Stan family. Even Stan Yunchen was fond of the parrot. Stan Yunchen and the others were even more excited after obtaining several 4th grade treasures. They wanted to hold the parrot in their hands. The parrot looked at Emperor Yi with a mocking expression. Emperor Yi curled his lips and ignored the parrot. More than 100 warriors formed a line that was 50 kilometers long. On average, each team was 10 kilometers long. Stan Yunchen led a group of people and walked in the middle. They were basically plundering the resources here. All the spirit herbs and spirit fruits of grade 3 and above were taken away. All the powerful spirit beasts that they encountered were killed. Their demonic cores were taken away, and their flesh, skin, and fur were dismembered. Their methods were extremely cruel. The warriors from the Stan family were invincible among their peers. 3 warriors from the Grotto Heaven realm were comparable to a warrior at the first step of the Fate Palace realm. With 10 warriors in a team, they were almost invincible. With the guidance of the parrot, they learned a lot and trusted the parrot even more. Yi Qinghan led Ren Huangyi in silence all the way. He didn't make a move, and all the treasures were taken away by the cultivators of the Stan clan. Everyone was very satisfied with his performance, and no one mentioned the Qianquan ring in his hand again. The team was getting longer and was about 150 kilometers long. The parrot was still complaining that it was not long enough. Stan Yunchen was very cautious. He shook his head and said, "It's okay. It's only 150 kilometers deep. It'll be dangerous if we go any further. If we encounter powerful creatures, we won't be able to support them." Yi Qinghan expanded his consciousness, hoping to find some horrifying Fate Palace realm beasts to lure the warriors from the Stan family into the battlefield. However, Fate Palace realm beasts were not easy to find. Furthermore, they were surrounded by plains. There were not many dangerous places. The sun was setting in the west, and the red clouds covered the sky. The faint light shone through the dense forest and dotted the ground. At night, the Demon Valley continent finally revealed its magnificence and horror. A large number of ferocious beasts walked out of their lairs and smelled the scent of blood, which made them go crazy. Call back the team and find a place to rest for the night. It's not good to fight them in the forest. Stan Yunchen was very cautious. He sent out a signal arrow, which exploded in the sky. A large number of experts began to return in an orderly manner. They chose a narrow mountain range that was easy to defend and hard to attack and began to set up camp. Soon after, Stan Yunchen took out a spirit bone that exuded an oppressive aura. It seemed to have a life of its own, and a supreme aura spread out in all directions. The beasts didn't dare to get close to it, and all of them ran away. This valley had become the territory of high-level beasts, and no intelligent creature dared to get close. Another demon bone of a 6th grade or higher spiritual beast. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed with greed. This bone isn't bad. It can be used to refine my left arm and increase my combat strength. I'll find a chance to get it. Stan Luofeng, Stan Pohei, lead 2 teams to patrol the area. The rest of you, burn some meat to replenish your qi and blood, Stan Yunchen commanded in an orderly manner. Since Stan Yunchen had great prestige, no one dared to refute him. Yi Qinghan stayed beside Stan Yunchen, sitting cross-legged on the ground. He also took some demonic beast meat, barbecued a few portions, and gave one to Stan Yunchen. Stan Yunchen ate the delicacies and looked at Yi Qinghan in surprise. He said with satisfaction, "Not bad. Sir, you flatter me. I've been out alone for a long time." "It tastes like this after cooking for a long time," Yi Qinghan said plainly. "Yingfeng, is this your niece? It seems like there's something wrong with her eyes. When we reach Stan Star, I'll ask the 5th grade divine doctor, Sir Shui, to treat her." Stan Yunchen looked at Emperor Yi with a strange look in his eyes. He was trying to get on his good side. "Thank you, sir. This child is my last relative. Her eyes aren't very good, so I always bring her along when I go out for training." Yi Qinghan looked sad, but he didn't look like he was faking it. However, he was sad because the so-called 5th grade divine Dr. Shui couldn't treat Emperor Ye's eyes. "She will be cured. Since you're following me, I naturally have to be capable. Otherwise, I won't let you down," Stan Yunchen said proudly. Yi Qinghan and Stan Yunchen chatted for a while, but didn't reveal anything. A monster like Stan Yunchen could easily deduce that Yi Qinghan wasn't in Feng. The parrot and Yi Qinghan communicated secretly, which made Yi Qinghan frown. There weren't any dangerous places in the vicinity. It would probably take some time before he could leave the team. Late at night, Yi Qinghan was cultivating in seclusion. However, he left a part of his divine sense outside. He would be alerted if anyone approached him. Stancia was awakened. He looked at Yi Qinghan ferociously with a murderous look. He slowly approached Yi Qinghan with a blade in his left hand. His killing intent was overflowing. "What are you doing? Don't come near here." Emperor Yi stood up vigilantly and said in a low voice while hugging his zither. Stancio sneered and said cruelly, "I'm going to send you to hell." As soon as he finished his sentence, Stancio raised his blade and slashed at Emperor Yi. He didn't have the slightest intention of showing mercy to the fairer sex. Hatred filled his mind and made him lose his rationality. "If you dare to move again, I'll take your life." Stan Yunchen suddenly opened his eyes. It was as if his dignity had been blasphemed. Stancio was shrouded in murderous intent as he scolded coldly. Stancio's body was cold, and his muscles were stiff. He raised his blade in midair and shivered. He didn't dare to move. "Big brother." He crippled my right arm. The vitality in my right arm has been sealed. I will be a good-for-nothing for the rest of my life. Are you going to fall out with me because of him? Don't tell me you don't want me to take revenge. Stancio scolded angrily. That's because you are a good-for-nothing. When the 9 stars of the Bitter Sea fought against you, a Grotto Heaven Realm first-step expert, your arm was chopped off. After being defeated several times, how can you still have the face to talk about taking revenge? Stan Yunchen scolded without any trace of politeness. Stancio's face was ashen. He looked at Yi Qinghan, who still hadn't opened his eyes, and Emperor Yi, who was still hugging his zither. He sneered, but he didn't dare to go against Stan Yunchen's will. "Good for nothing, come and hit me if you dare. You are really thick-skinned. Go and commit suicide by jumping off a cliff. Don't waste resources. You will be like this for the rest of your life. The sooner you die, the sooner you can reincarnate," the parrot sneered viciously. This sentence made Stancio completely lose control. He directly grabbed the parrot and wanted to crush it. "Pa!" How could Stan Yunchen let this good-for-nothing hurt the parrot? He fiercely slapped Stancio's face, sending him flying more than 10 meters away. He said coldly, "Remember, from today onwards, Ing Feng is my follower. Seeing him is like seeing me. As for this parrot, if you dare to touch a single strand of its hair, I will twist your head off. Now scram to the side. If you disturb my cultivation again, I will kill you right now." Yi Qinghan's eyebrows twitched. He was a bit wary of this Stan Yunchen. Even if his talent could only be considered above average, he was extremely intelligent. He knew how to win over people's hearts. His Dao heart was steady, and he was vicious. He even killed his own cousin. This kind of person was too terrifying. He cherished useful people in his hands and killed useless people without mercy. That night, with Stan Yunchen's intimidation and the demon bones aura enveloping the valley, it was exceptionally quiet. The next day, Yi Qinghan gently opened his eyes. He felt that the spiritual energy in his body had improved. However, he was still a bit away from breaking through to the Grotto Heaven Realm. He couldn't help but feel dissatisfied. Continue deeper and collect more treasures. Return to the clan and exchange them for contribution points. You will not be short of spirit crystals or secret techniques, Stan Yunchen said coldly. A large group of experts rushed into the depths. The creatures they encountered were getting stronger and stronger. There were more and more mountains, gradually blocking their path. After fighting for half a month, Yi Qinghan also participated in a few tough battles. He killed many Grotto Heaven Realm Grade 3 demonic beasts and obtained some demonic cores. The parrot secretly told Yi Qinghan the location of some important elixirs. Almost all the real treasures were kept in Yi Qinghan's interspatial ring. Occasionally, Stan Yunchen and the others would snatch a top-grade 4th-grade elixir. They would happily worship the parrot as their god. However, they didn't know that the parrot was deliberately leaving some leftovers for them. Yi Qinghan had obtained 3 5th-grade elixirs and at least 50 top-grade 4th-grade elixirs. This was no longer a matter of spirit crystals. He had so many spirit crystals that he couldn't use them all. What he needed now was the elixirs that could enhance his combat strength. Ha ha ha, Ing Feng, the divine bird you gave me is great. I am very satisfied. With it, we can finish our training in half a year. Stan Yunchen laughed excitedly. Yi Qinghan chuckled and thought to himself, you still haven't experienced how good it is. In a few days, you will hate it to the core. After another half a month, they finally encountered a 4th-grade Fate Palace Realm demonic beast at the edge of the Demonic Valley continent. However, the demonic beast was not a flying beast. It was killed by Stan Yunchen, showing its invincible combat strength. However, the parrot laughed and secretly sent a message to Yi Qinghan, Master, I found a dangerous place not far from here. There are horrible beasts there, but there are also many elixirs. Oh. Take it easy. Don't lead us to death. We are just trying to get away from them, Yi Qinghan reminded the parrot in a serious tone. The parrot was not confident. It only felt that there was a gloomy canyon about 200 miles deep. Bones were piled up like mountains. It was horrifying and there seemed to be an extremely powerful evil spirit underground. Any creature that entered it would find it difficult to escape. The spiritual energy on both sides of the canyon was rich. There were 3rd-grade and 4th-grade elixirs everywhere. There were also many 5th-grade spiritual fruits. A large number of beasts were attracted to the canyon, but none of them could come out alive. The parrot pretended to be calm and led Stan Yunchen and the others into the gorge filled with blood and bones. Boundless spiritual energy and terrifying murderous intent fused together, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. It made people drool, but they had to be cautious. There are many 5th-grade beasts here, but it is a little dangerous. Do you dare to go in? The parrot deliberately provoked them. Stan Yunchen's face was solemn. He was very cautious about this place. However, after hearing the parrot's words, he became arrogant and said disdainfully, it is impossible for such a small planet to have 5th-grade beasts. I am confident that I am invincible in Owl Fall Star. Since there are so many 5th-grade spiritual fruits, why not take them? Follow me. Be vigilant and don't underestimate the enemy. Stand back to back and form a circle. If there are any strange movements, use all your strength. It is better to kill than to let them go, Stan Yunchen said coldly and led the others into the depths of the canyon. Yi Qinghan had just stepped into the entrance of the canyon when he felt his hair stand on end. It was as if there was a supreme monster staring at him. He could not help but complain inwardly. This parrot is too deceitful. It found a place where I might not even have a chance to escape. It is not just deceiving others, it is deceiving me. Chapter 130. Inside the canyon, white bones were piled up like mountains. The rocks were dyed red with blood, turning the place into a bloody prison. The laws of nature did not descend, and the origin did not descend. It was the cruelest domain. On both sides of the cliff, there were coveted spirit fruit trees, spirit herbs, and precious medicines. Divine light swirled around them, but not many birds came to pick them. It was obvious that all the living beings in the vicinity knew that this was a land of death. Anyone who entered would die without a doubt. Yi Qinghan was extremely cautious. He held the devil dragon saber and lifted Emperor Yi onto his shoulder. He spread his legs apart and squeezed his neck. He said in a deep voice, "Sit tight. Now, block off your divine sense. No matter what you hear, don't panic. Don't interfere with my actions." Emperor Ye's small hands trembled. He grabbed Yi Qinghan's ink-black hair and said in fear, "Master, this place is too scary. We shouldn't go in. There's something underground. I feel like it's peeping at my soul origin." Yi Qinghan was drenched in cold sweat. As the soul of a marshal revered, how could he not feel that there was something underground spying on them? However, it was impossible for them to leave at this time. Si Yunqian was too confident and would not give up halfway. "It's okay. If the underground creature is a 5th or 6th grade, it's too late for us to retreat. If it's a 4th grade top grade one, we still have a chance." Yi Qinghan comforted him in a low voice. "The underground creature is definitely not a 4th grade one. Master, you have to believe me. We will all die if we go in. It can see through my origin and is sending me a signal." Emperor Yi did not block off his divine sense. He could clearly feel that there was a dragon-like creature moving under the countless bones. It was as thin as firewood and as sharp as a bone sword. It was over 100 meters long and its huge pupils were suffused with golden light. Its head was comparable to a small mountain. When it opened its mouth slightly, its sinister fangs were even sharper than a 5th-grade combat weapon. They could break anything. An ordinary 5th-grade combat weapon could definitely shatter it. The golden pupils stared at Emperor Yi, ignoring the eerie white bones and penetrating the shackles. They stared at the origin of Emperor Ye's zither immortal crimson demon physique and drooled, causing Emperor Ye's entire body to tense up. The divine zither imprint emitted a divine light that was almost uncontrollable. Yi Qinghan stopped in his tracks. The sense of danger was getting stronger and stronger, and it was getting out of his control. He was unwilling to take any more risks. The parrot's feathers immediately exploded, and it thought to itself, "Fuck, motherfucker, what kind of bird is down there? I didn't get myself into trouble this time, did I?" Stan Yunqian summoned a 4th-grade top-notch spiritual weapon, which had almost reached the level of a fighter. He held the 6th-grade demon bone in his left hand and looked down cautiously. Then, he said in a deep voice, "Be careful. Activate your defense and use the giant god array. Fly up, pick the spirit fruits, and leave this place immediately. Ing Feng, these are 5th-grade vibrating spirit wings. They're not top quality, but they can allow you to fly. From now on, follow me and help me defend. I want to pick all the 5th-grade spirit fruits on the cliff. When we get out of here, I'll definitely bestow upon you a top-notch 4th-grade secret technique." Stan Yunqian looked at Yi Qinghan, who had stopped in his tracks, and casually threw out a pair of vibrating spirit wings, which were worth hundreds of thousands of middle-grade spirit stones. Although these vibrating spirit wings were 5th-grade spirit stones, there were many people who knew how to refine them. Therefore, their price was not as high as some 4th-grade spirit weapons. Cough, cough, I'm not feeling well. I'm a little sensitive to the aura here, so I won't go in. I'll wait for you guys outside." The parrot coughed dryly and rushed out of the canyon, regardless of whether Stan Yunqian agreed or not. After all, it was better to cheat a fellow Taoist than to cheat a poor Taoist. Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched, and he said to Emperor Yi, "You go out as well. Follow the parrot. With it protecting you, you shouldn't be at a disadvantage." As soon as Yi Qinghan finished speaking, he pushed his palms forward, and his true core strength poured out. The water origin was vast and mighty, and it carried Emperor Yi out of the canyon with a gentle force. Then, his aura spread out, and it suppressed the whole canyon to buy some time for Emperor Yi. Sure enough, as soon as Yi Qinghan revealed his martial venerable aura, he immediately attracted the attention of the ferocious underground creatures, and they stared at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and cursed the parrot inwardly, "That bastard, he even tricked me. I asked him to find a dangerous place, but he actually found a dangerous one. Fuck. The wings recognized its owner, and it spread out its wings and flew high. A high-grade spirit crystal was embedded in the wings, and its speed was as fast as lightning. Finally, it had the confidence to protect its life. Wuxia, holding the demon dragon saber in his hand, he broke through the air and hovered above the cliff, intimidating the blood-bone canyon. Roar! A strange roar was heard, and bloody bones gushed out from the ground, covering the sky and the sun. The whole canyon shook, and a large number of spirit fruits fell. Everyone's hair stood on end, and they looked at the canyon. Suddenly, their bodies stiffened, and they were terrified. A ferocious beast that looked like a bone dragon rushed out from the ground, opening its bloody mouth as it rushed toward the crowd. The spirit fruits fell into its mouth, and its eerie fangs still had a trace of flesh and blood. The nauseating smell of blood made more than 10 people with weaker cultivations faint, and they fell directly into the demonic beast's mouth. Crack! The fangs bit down, and the powerhouse of the Stan clan, who had an ancient bloodline, couldn't withstand the impact. He was killed and swallowed into the beast's stomach. The ferocious beast was abnormally excited by its vigorous qi and blood. It rolled up its steel-like tailbone and smashed it toward Yi Qinghan and Stan Yunqian. Wherever it passed, a strong wind whistled, and the crowd was swept away. Ah! What the hell is that? The crowd was terrified, and they all tried to escape. However, the ferocious beast's tail was 100 meters high. Boom! Puff! A few people were smashed into pieces in midair, and their blood dyed the sky. It was a horrifying scene. This is, a 5th-grade ferocious beast. An ancient ferocious beast. Stan Yunqian was terrified. He hurriedly pulled out a sharp arrow and shot it into the clouds. The arrow exploded in the void, and the entire Owlfall star could see it clearly. Yi Qinghan was shocked. He held the devil dragon saber tightly and thought to himself, there is actually such an extinct ancient ferocious beast, the heavenly demon bone dragon. It lives on flesh and blood, and as long as there is flesh and blood, its vitality will not be extinguished. Although it is only a 5th-grade beast, it is more disgusting and horrifying than a 6th-grade one. Damn it! How did this lowly bird discover this place from hundreds of miles away? Yi Qinghan was annoyed. This wasn't just a scam, it was a scam. Roar! The heavenly demon bone dragon's long tail was invincible. Wherever it passed, it would cause a rain of blood. It cut through rocks like tofu, and even the mountains were uprooted. A 4th-grade spiritual sword was shattered, and more than 20 of the 100 Stan clan experts died in an instant. They didn't even have a chance to resist. The sky was filled with the bones of the bone dragon. There wasn't a single bit of essence left in the bones, which had been completely absorbed by the heavenly demon bone dragon. Escape from the canyon quickly. Stan Yunqian roared and slashed at the tail of the heavenly demon bone dragon. The saber aura shattered countless decaying bones in the void. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath as a glint flashed in his eyes. He wanted to find a chance to leave, but the heavenly demon skeletal dragon seemed to be targeting him and Stan Yunqian because they had the purest and strongest bloodline. Roar! The strange dragon roar dispersed the clouds. Its huge body circled the 9 heavens and surrounded everyone. The poisonous gas from its mouth was enough to kill a few of the weaker Stan clan experts. Whirlwind slash! Yi Qinghan's blue dragon arm had green veins popping out. His body spun at high speed, and the saber aura shattered the void and blasted at the tailbone of the heavenly demon bone dragon. Boom! A loud explosion shattered the mountain rocks, and the aura soared into the clouds. The aftershock spread for thousands of miles. After the demon dragon saber and the bone dragon's body collided, sparks flew out from the friction and ignited a huge fire. Yi Qinghan's blue dragon arm exploded, and the demon dragon saber flew out of his hand and stabbed into the cliff, cutting it in half. As for his body, it was as if he had suffered a heavy blow. He flew back 100 meters and smashed into a lone mountain. His body exploded, and blood and flesh splattered everywhere. Pfft! Yi Qinghan was bleeding from all 7 orifices. His golden body was dyed in blood, and even his golden bones were shattered. He fell from the sky and knelt on the ground. The impact caused the rocks to crumble, and a deep ravine extended for dozens of meters. It was so deep that one couldn't see the bottom. The heavenly demon bone dragon let out a mournful cry. Its sharp and ear-piercing voice shattered everyone's eardrums as it fell from the sky in horror. Within 10,000 meters of the canyon's defense, stone fragments flew everywhere. The heavenly demon bone dragon rolled around, and its fangs shattered the mountains as it charged at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's face was ashen. Divine light flowed on his blue dragon arm as he grabbed at the void. The demon dragon saber tore through the air and returned to his hand. He flapped his wings and soared into the sky. He was as fast as lightning and dodged the bone dragon's fangs by a hair's breadth. When Stan Yunchen saw this, he didn't help Yi Qinghan. Instead, he helped the Stan clansmen to escape from the canyon. Yi Qinghan smiled coldly. He used the stellar transposition and broke through the void. He summoned the god-slaying eagle and soared into the clouds. He disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. The heavenly demon bone dragon couldn't find Yi Qinghan's aura, so it turned around and charged at Stan Yunchen, dragging them into the battlefield. When Stan Yunchen saw that Yi Qinghan had escaped, he was furious. He had no choice but to work with the others to kill the bone dragon. However, the bone dragon's strength was not something that a Fate Palace or Grotto Heaven Realm powerhouse could compare with. Even Stan's ancient bloodline couldn't fight it. Roar! Powerhouses from Stan's bloodline kept dying. The bone dragon was like a harvester of life. Invincible kings were nothing but rotting corpses that couldn't withstand a single blow. The heavenly demon bone dragon's body was crimson red. It had devoured a large amount of vigorous blood essence and became even more powerful. Stan Yunchen was forced to retreat. He was severely injured, but he didn't dare to run away. Otherwise, all the disciples of his bloodline would be wiped out. They had been tricked by the parrot in this battle. It wasn't a trap at all. It was pushing them to hell. Not only did the bone dragon entangle them, but it also devoured most of them alive. It replenished a large amount of blood essence and became even more terrifying. Stan Yunchen was burning with rage. He was bathed in a river of blood. He unleashed his most terrifying strength to buy some time for the remaining 50 or so powerhouses behind him. Set up the giant god formation. Combine. The 50 or so powerhouses overlapped and merged into one, forming a giant human. After Stan Yunchen's attack, he took advantage of the momentum and flew into the center of the formation. He became the eye of the formation, allowing the giant to transform into a giant god. He fought with the 5th grade bone dragon crazily. The entire valley was razed to the ground. Yi Qinghan found Emperor Yi and the parrot. He rode the god-slaying eagle into the depths of the demon valley and disappeared into the sea of trees. The parrot laughed. What do you think? I made a great contribution, didn't I? These guys will definitely be held back. Go away. You almost got me killed. Yi Qinghan was speechless. That was not a dangerous place. It was a hopeless place. If Stan Yunchen hadn't given him the 5th grade spirit vibrating wings, he wouldn't have been able to escape today. He was afraid that the moment he summoned the god-slaying eagle, it would be frightened by the 5th grade demonic dragon's aura and be swallowed into its stomach. Hey, you're turning your back on me. The parrot mocked in dissatisfaction. Yi Qinghan was speechless. Trying to reason with the parrot was self-torture. This guy didn't know what shame was. Chapter 131. Outside the canyon, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Dozens of Stan clan masters joined forces and turned into a giant with infinite strength. It was on par with the heavenly demon bone dragon. It resisted for more than 10 times in a row. The golden light swept across thousands of miles, shocking the entire Demon Valley continent. Yi Qinghan had rushed thousands of miles away with Emperor Yi, but he could still clearly feel the aura of death in the canyon. A dragon's roar in the canyon shook the world. The strong killing intent and the aura of death were overwhelming. The stars outside the 9 heavens poured down and the sky turned upside down. The aura of ancient life and the smell of decay were vast and mighty in the sky, crushing the mountains and forests. The Demon Valley continent fell into a dead silence. There was no other sound except for the dragon's roar and the giant god's roar. The giant god soared and jumped thousands of meters. Their combined attack was enough to collapse the world. The whole continent was shaking. The Stan clan's joint attack was definitely the best in history. Damn, what a powerful joint attack. It's on par with the 5th-class heavenly demon bone dragon. Will these guys come to me after they escape? The parrot was shocked. It had done something wrong and was afraid of being found. Let's wait until they escape. Yi Qinghan smiled and put away the 5th-class vibrating spirit wings. This was a good thing. It was a life-saving treasure before he broke through to the grotto heaven realm. Ah! A long roar broke the heavy pressure of heaven and earth. The flaming dragon swept through the mountains and rivers, flashing past the central state continent. It moved the stars and chased after the moon, swooping down to the Demon Valley continent with a strong killing intent. The Stan clan's Tao master. Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank. He knew something was wrong. He said, "Are there any more dangerous places around here? Find another one. You want to trick me again? Let me try." The parrot was very interested. It rushed into the depths of the canyon with Yi Qinghan. The god-slaying eagle was also summoned. Its long roar shook the world. The parrot stood on the eagle's head and kept communicating. The god-slaying eagle's flight path kept changing. "Master, I heard that there's a blood sea at the end of the Demon Valley continent. It's surrounded by valuable blood-colored spiritual crystals. However, it's dangerous. Many 4th-class ancient fierce beasts and spirits gather there. Should we go there?" The parrot asked. "Let's go there first and find a quiet place. I'll break through to the grotto heaven realm. If I don't break through now, I'm afraid I won't have the chance." Yi Qinghan was depressed. It was getting more and more dangerous. The frequency of powerful warriors appearing was too high, and their levels were getting higher and higher. It was no longer reliable to fight against warriors of a higher level. He could deal with some Fate Palace warriors of the Owlfall Star and Grotto Heaven Realm warriors of the collateral branches of the Stan clan. However, he could only run for his life when facing Stan Yunchen. If he encountered a Dao master of the Stan clan, he could only wait for death. A loud explosion shook the Demon Valley continent. A shocking will destroyed the world, suppressing the great Dao laws in all directions. A pair of eyes glanced over the Demon Valley continent. The Fate Palace beasts on the Owlfall Star were so scared that they trembled and dared not move. The god-slaying eagle's wings lost their strength and it fell from the void. Yi Qinghan quickly spread his wings and grabbed Emperor Yi with his left hand. He dived down and lifted the god-slaying eagle with his azure dragon arm. He slowly descended and let go of the god-slaying eagle when they were dozens of meters above the ground. The Dao Master level was too terrifying. It was so terrifying that the Fate Palace beasts had no intention of resisting. "Bastard! How dare you attack the Stan family? I'll kill you today." Stan Kaiyun, an early-stage Dao Master, shouted in the sky. The giant hand broke through the void and smashed the shackles. It smashed toward the heavenly demon skeletal dragon to give Stan Yunchen the best chance of survival. Roar. When the heavenly demon skeletal dragon saw the appearance of a Tao master, it was not surprised but delighted. It opened its bloody mouth and swallowed the younger generation of the Stand Star. The vicious corpse poison spewed out and made some of the weaker Grotto Heaven Realm experts faint. They fell from the sky and were swallowed by the skeletal dragon. Stan Kaiyun's eyes were filled with hatred. He was heartbroken to see more than 30 of the more than 100 Tao masters left. He punched the heavenly demon skeletal dragon with his golden fist. Go to hell. Boom, 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 the fist broke through the shackles of time and space and smashed into the skull of the heavenly demon bone dragon. The golden fist shattered into pieces, and blood dyed the sky red. However, the bone dragon lost control of its head and fell into the valley. Its huge tailbone was flung into the void and smashed into the giant god formation formed by Stan Yunchen and the others. Bang! Puff! The giant god formation was shattered. Dozens of Tao masters fell into the valley. They screamed and roared in horror. Once they fell into the valley, even Stan Yunchen could not escape from being swallowed by the skeletal dragon. As the eye of the formation, Stan Yunchen was under irresistible pressure. He was bleeding all over and felt dizzy. He tried to control his body, but his real essence was in a mess and his sea of chi was almost broken. He shouted, "Save me, third uncle." Whoosh, 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 20 or 30 Tao masters fell from the sky. The sound of the air breaking was endless. Stan Kaiyun had no time to chase after the skeletal dragon. He waved his hand and took Stan Yunchen and the others away. Then he retreated out of the valley. What happened? Why is there a fifth realm heavenly demon skeletal dragon here? Isn't this kind of trash extinct? Stan Kaiyun was furious. He was heartbroken to see that there were less than 30 Tao masters left. They had lost nearly 100 Tao masters. Cough, cough. Stan Yunchen kept coughing up blood. His eyes were fierce, but he was also confused. The parrot led them here but ran away. Did it know that there was an invincible existence here? That's impossible. Ing Feng also reminded me that we shouldn't enter this place. Stan Yunchen was not reconciled. He was furious when he thought about how Yi Qinghan had obtained the 5th stage spirit quake wings and escaped from the heavenly demon skeletal dragon's attack. Ing Feng. You dare to run away? When I find you, I will suppress you alive. I will uproot your blood fiends. Stan Yunchen still did not know that Yi Qinghan was not Ing Feng. It was just a fake name. Even if he slaughtered the blood fiends, Yi Qinghan would only smile and even be grateful to him. Roar! The heavenly demon skeletal dragon finally found so many powerful Tao masters. How could it let them escape? It rushed out of the valley for the first time in hundreds of years. It swept through the forest and mountains and smashed toward Stan Kaiyun and the others. Stan Kaiyun was shocked and roared, "Yunchen, take the disciples and leave the Demon Valley continent. I will stop it." The heavenly demon skeletal dragon was a 5th stage ferocious beast. It had an ancient bloodline and a hybrid dragon bloodline. Its body was extremely strong and invincible. Even Stan Kaiyun might not be its opponent. Boom! The heavenly demon skeletal dragon's huge tail covered the sky and the earth. Wherever it passed, everything was razed to the ground. Stan Kaiyun was shocked. His blood and chi boiled as he released all his battle strength. A terrifying 5th stage combat weapon appeared in his hand. It was a real 5th stage combat weapon. It was extremely cold and powerful. The vast True Yuan poured out and could almost twist time and space. Blood blade art. Whoosh! 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 It was also the blood blade art, but in the hands of Stan Kaiyun, its power was thousands of times stronger than that of Stan Xiaowu. It was even thousands of times stronger than Yi Qinghan's whirlwind slash. It swept up the momentum of heaven and earth and was invincible. It fiercely slashed toward the bone dragon's tail. Boom! The huge tail was even more terrifying than a 5th-stage combat weapon. It could shatter a 4th-stage spiritual weapon in an instant. After colliding with the 5th-stage combat weapon, heaven and earth shook violently. Flames roared in the sky and burned the sky. A part of the forest was burned. After the collision, the two figures flew backward like kites with broken strings and fell to the ground at the same time. Thud! 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 The ground was crushed by the man and the beast. Deep ravines with no bottom could be seen. The continent was divided into two and stretched for thousands of miles. Fortunately, they were both 5th-stage ferocious beasts. If they were great martial venerables, the owl falling star would have been torn apart after this attack. Evil creature. Ferocious beasts above the 5th stage are not allowed to descend on the 4th-stage star. This is the agreement between the human race and the myriad races. If you dare to go against the will of the ancient war emperor, you will die miserably. Stan Yunchen roared angrily. Upon hearing the will of the ancient war emperor, the heavenly demon skeletal dragon could not help but tremble. Although those terrifying existences had transformed into Tao for tens of thousands of years, their will could still crush 5th stage, 6th stage, and 7th stage ferocious beasts. No one dared to go against the will of the ancient war emperor. Not even the myriad races. You will be hunted down endlessly by the enforcers. The myriad races will not let you go. There will be no place for you in the endless universe. Just give up and let me capture you. Stan Kaiyun was furious. He stabilized his body. His body was covered in blood and bones. One move had shattered his body and stained the ground with blood. The heavenly demon skeletal dragon's body was too terrifying. Roar! Although the heavenly demon skeletal dragon was afraid, his killing intent was even stronger. He had violated the law. 5th-stage demons were not allowed to descend on the 4th-stage star. Although 5th-stage Tao masters were allowed to descend, they were not allowed to attack. Otherwise, no one would be able to protect them. The enforcers would shatter space and time and come. Anyone who went against the will of the great emperor would be killed mercilessly. Stan Kaiyun was unwilling to attack again. Otherwise, the owl falling star would shatter and countless creatures would die miserably. He would also be punished by the heavens. The next thunder tribulation would kill him alive. He would never be able to survive it. Heavenly demon skeletal dragon, if you want to die, I won't accompany you. If you have the guts, come and fight in the void. I'm not afraid of you. Stan Kaiyun soared into the sky. His aura was overwhelming and suppressed the great Tao in all directions. The entire owl falling star seemed to be frozen. Time stopped and all laws wailed. Whoosh! Stan Kaiyun shattered the void and soared into the 9 heavens. Roar! The heavenly demon skeletal dragon turned its body and flew up. It opened its bloody mouth and bit at Stan Kaiyun. Its huge body twisted the void and wanted to surround Stan Kaiyun. Once entangled, Stan Kaiyun would die without a doubt. Die! Stan Kaiyun's hair stood on end. His aura leaked out and caused the great Tao to rumble. Purple lightning streaked across the sky and illuminated the ground. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the rain roared and invaded the world. Lightning intersected. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Countless mountain ranges were flattened by lightning. In the end, it affected the central continent and caused countless practitioners to tremble. No one had thought that the parrot would cause a great battle between these two terrifying existences. Whether it would affect the entire owl falling star in the end was still unknown. Yi Qin Han was not sure how many people would be tricked. Chapter 132. Dark clouds covered the sky, and the sky fell into darkness. Purple lightning flashed across the 9 heavens, shattering the Taoist hearts of the heroes. Si Kaiyun's hair stood on end, and his Taoist heart trembled. He didn't want to fight for a long time, as it might attract a thunder tribulation. Yi Qinghan frowned and stared at the void. His eyes broke through the sun, moon, and stars, and pierced through the dark clouds. He clenched his fists tightly, hoping that they would both be injured. The parrot trembled. He was the one who caused this disaster, and he was afraid of revenge. "Master, let's go. I don't want to see the Sea clan anymore," the parrot said pitifully. Yi Qinghan didn't bother to respond. He restrained his aura and stared at the sky. Boom! 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 The galaxy above was shattered, and chaos poured down. The purple sky was filled with lightning. The essence and blood of the Taoist master merged with the rain and poured down on the world. It was terrifying. The heavenly demon bone dragon's huge body entangled Si Kaiyun. Si Kaiyun's gang chi burst out, and his blade gang chi was invincible. A huge defensive shield blocked the attack of the bone dragon, but he was defeated and was about to lose. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and clenched his fists. He wanted the bone dragon and Si Kaiyun to both be injured, not a one-sided battle. This heavenly demon bone dragon was probably the last bone dragon in Owl Dragon region. It was very powerful. Once it killed Si Kaiyun, it would devour his chi, blood, and vitality, and then devour the essence and blood of the entire Owlfall star. It would evolve into a mid-level 5th-class ferocious beast, which was comparable to an ordinary great martial venerable. No one could stop it. When it rushed into the endless universe, even the enforcers might not be able to find it. Doesn't he know the forbidden technique of the Sea clan, 10,000 miles of berserk? Yi Qinghan frowned. The Sea clan had a secret technique to save their lives, 10,000 miles of berserk. Once they were in a life-or-death situation, they would burn their essence and blood to sell their life essence. Their combat power would be increased by 100 times in an instant, and they would enter the mid-level of Tao Master. Although it could only last for an hour, it could quickly defeat the bone dragon. The price of this forbidden skill was also very terrible. The life of a Tao Master was 800 to 1,000 years old, and the upper limit was 1,200 years old. Most of the ancient bloodlines like Stan's could live up to 1,000 years old, but once they used the forbidden skill, they could only live up to 900 years old. 100 years of life in exchange for an hour of glory. Under normal circumstances, the Si Tan clan would not use forbidden techniques. Si Kaiyun's decline was becoming more and more obvious. Seeing that his defenses were about to be broken by the bone dragon and he was about to die, Si Kaiyun was burning with rage. He roared, "Damned beast, I will kill you today even if I have to risk my life." Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. He knew that Si Kaiyun could no longer hold back. As expected, Si Kaiyun's chi and blood boiled, and his essence blood began to burn. The pressure of the ancient bloodline shrouded the world, and even the Chaos Era's momentum was forcefully pulled over. Si Kaiyun's battle prowess suddenly increased by 100 times, and his aura soared into the sky. Yi Qinghan shuddered as he sensed that his soul had discovered him. 10,000 miles of berserk. Heaven falls and earth rends. Whoosh! 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 The void was torn into pieces by the saber chi. A saber slashed down from the Chaos Era and instantly hit the bone dragon. Roar! A mournful scream resounded through the Owlfall star, making people's hair stand on end. The bone dragon fell from the void, and its golden blood was burned. Even the heavy rain was burned. Its huge eyes revealed a touch of horror. It twisted its body and was about to rush into the void. Damned beast! You forced me to burn 100 years of my life essence blood. I will kill you today. Si Kaiyun was furious as he slashed his saber at the bone dragon. The bone dragon's body twisted crazily as it felt the dense killing intent and danger. It no longer bothered Si Kaiyun and rushed into the Chaos Era. Great sky opening technique. Swish. 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 Si Kaiyun's aura was like a rainbow as he chased into the void and disappeared from the Owlfall star. Yi Qinghan let out a breath of turbid air. Si Kaiyun's aura was superb now. After an hour, his qi and blood would quickly dim and his combat strength would drop by 1,000 times. He would be on par with Si Yunchen at most and would need at least 10 years to recover. He definitely didn't dare to stay on the Owlfall star any longer. Once Si Kaiyun left, there was nothing to be afraid of on the Owlfall star. Let's go and find a place to break through to the Grotto Heaven realm. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly as he led Emperor Yi into the depths. The god-slaying eagle followed closely behind, intimidating the demonic beasts within 100 miles. Outside the Demon Valley, Stan Yinchen's eyes were filled with ferocity. Looking at his brothers in distress, he was infuriated. He clenched his fists and snorted, "Follow me. I'm going to raise Blood Fiend and tearing foam apart." There were only 25 experts left. Their aura was majestic as they rushed into the clouds with invincible combat postures. They flew into the sky and burrowed into the ground. After an hour, they arrived at the Huiyin city. The aura of Si Kaiyun's family was intimidating, suppressing everyone. Even the Fate Palace experts turned pale and did not dare to move. Tang Quan and the others were still investigating the whereabouts of Yi Qinghan in the Huiyin city. When they saw the young experts from the Si Kaiyun star, they quickly went up and greeted them with cupped fists. "I'm Tang Quan." "Greetings, Sir Emissary of the Si Kaiyun star." Si Yunchen nodded slightly. He could tell that they were old monsters who were at the end of their lifespan and could die at any time. He did not want to provoke them. He nodded slightly and said, "Greetings, seniors. I'm here today to find the location of the Blood Fiend. Does anyone know where the headquarters of the Blood Fiend is?" The Blood Fiend? Tang Quan and the others were stunned. Although the organization was a Grade 4 organization, it was much stronger than the average Grade 4 organization. Everyone in the organization was an expert with extraordinary combat strength. Judging from the aggressive manner of Si Yunchen and the others, could it be that they wanted to wipe out the Blood Fiend? Tang Quan's lips curled into a strange smile. He secretly transmitted his voice to Si Yunchen. "The location of the headquarters of the Blood Fiend is extremely difficult to find. However, according to what I know, the headquarters of the Blood Fiend is in the solitary Fiend Mountain. The place is densely covered with arrays and is guarded by Fate Palace experts. I'm afraid it won't be easy to break through." "Humph. Blood Fiend, no one dares to go against my will. Damning foam. How dare he do this to me and cause great losses to my family? He deserves to die." Si Yunchen snorted coldly and left with the others. The headquarters of the Blood Fiend was located in the solitary Fiend Mountain. The area within a radius of 1,000 meters was shrouded in murderous aura. Beasts did not dare to come close. The arrays were illusory and there were countless experts. Even the experts of the Bitter Sea realm were patrolling back and forth. Si Yunchen brought 20 of the most powerful disciples of the Tao Insight realm with him. They did not plan to launch a sneak attack. Instead, they planned to wipe out the Blood Fiend by force. The weakest of the Tao Insight realm experts was at Step 2 of the Tao Insight realm. 13 of them were at Step 3 of the Tao Insight realm, and 8 of them were at Step 4 of the Tao Insight realm. 2 or 3 of them could kill an expert of the Fate Palace realm if they worked together. They were not afraid of anything on such a small planet. Boom! Si Yunchen raised his saber and struck violently. The defensive arrays of the Blood Fiend were shattered and more than 10 patrollers of the 9 stars of the Bitter Sea were killed. He stood in mid-air and looked down at the Blood Fiend. He sneered and said, "You're indeed a bunch of cowards. Do you think you're powerful just because I can't find you? Kill them all. Don't leave a single one alive. Finding foam and kill him." Find that parrot and bring him back. I have great use for him. At his command, dozens of experts rushed into the headquarters of the Blood Fiend and killed everyone they saw. They showed no mercy and did not even give them a chance to explain themselves. Ah! Who are you? How dare you come to the Blood Fiend and kill the innocent? Puff! Swish! 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 They were all experts of the sword and saber. Each of their moves could take away a person's life. No matter how powerful their concealment skills were, they were cut in half. Some people who were hiding in withered trees were killed. As a woman, Si Yunchen and Night Spirit were extremely ruthless. They killed both men and women. Si Yunchen sneered and stepped into the main hall of the Blood Fiend. He smashed the palace with one palm and startled some old monsters. They looked at Si Yunchen in shock and anger. They noticed that he was not an ordinary person and could not help but ask in a deep voice, "Are you the Lord of the Stand Star? Why did you attack the Blood Fiend without asking for the truth?" Humph! Without asking for the truth? Let me ask you. Is there someone called Ing Feng in your organization? Si Yunchen asked coldly. The experts of the Grotto Heaven realm looked at each other. Some of them knew Ing Feng. They nodded and said, "There is someone called Ing Feng, but his cultivation is only at the 9th star of the Bitter Sea realm. He shouldn't have offended you, right?" When Si Yunchen heard that it was the 9th star of the Bitter Sea realm, he was even more certain. He immediately attacked with his saber and his aura flattened the entire hall. With a flash of cold light, he killed 7 or 8 Grotto Heaven realm assassins. These powerful experts of the Grotto Heaven realm were existences that even Fate Palace realm experts on the Owl Falling Star would not dare to offend. However, they did not even have a chance to resist before they were killed by Si Yunchen. They did not even know how they died. Ing Feng! Come out. I'll give you a chance. Otherwise, I'll wipe out the Blood Fiend completely. Si Yunchen shouted angrily. However, Ing Feng was not at the headquarters of the Blood Fiend. He was carrying out a mission in the Flaming Cloud City. After all, the mission to kill Yi Qinghan had not been completed. As a result, they could not meet each other and the Blood Fiend had been set up. The parrot had not only set up the people of Si Yunchen's bloodline, but also a terrifying existence like Si Kaiyun. Now, the Blood Fiend was set up as well. They were slaughtered and razed to the ground. Countless people died under the saber, but they did not know who they had offended. However, Yi Qinghan was unaware of all this. He was cultivating in seclusion in a mountain in the Demon Valley continent, preparing to break through the first step of the Grotto Heaven realm. With the god-slaying eagle protecting him, Emperor Yi guarding the front, and the parrot guarding the front, the mountain became the safest place. Yi Qinghan was surrounded by a large number of mid-grade spirit crystals, forming a massive spirit gathering array. Rich spirit energy broke through his skin and rushed into Yi Qinghan's limbs and bones, transforming into pure essence that helped replenish Yi Qinghan's blood essence. His combat strength was extraordinary. Yi Qinghan retracted his divine sense and used all his strength. Quintessential essence flowed through his entire body. His azure dragon arm flashed with golden light, causing divine light to circulate around his body. He was like a god descending. His handsome face was even more dazzling, and his deep eyes were enough to make one lose themselves in him. Water. Yi Qinghan waved his hands, causing a mist barrier to appear around him. It looked fragile, but in fact, it could block the strike of a Grotto Heaven realm expert. It was enough to buy him a breath of time. It looks like I can make a breakthrough. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and felt the will of the heavens, the laws of myriad Daos. Grotto Heaven, seeing through the mysteries of heaven. If he could not see through the mysteries of heaven, then how could he be called a Grotto Heaven realm expert? The Grotto Heaven realm experts of Owl Fall Star were unable to see through the mysteries of heaven, so they could not be considered true Grotto Heaven realm experts. Dark clouds covered the skies, blocking out the mysteries of heaven. It was as if they were deliberately preventing Yi Qinghan from seeing through the mysteries of heaven. Pressure enveloped the area, and occasionally, a bolt of lightning would strike down, its momentum astonishing. Chapter 133. Dark clouds covered the sky, shielding Yi Qinghan from seeing through the mysteries of heaven. Occasionally, a bolt of lightning would strike down with astonishing momentum. Yi Qinghan's aura was faintly discernible as he used his divine sense to pry into the mysteries of heaven. However, the mysteries of heaven were difficult to predict. Those who defied the heavens would die, and those who obeyed the heavens would be sad. This was a principle that had never changed since the ancient times. The dark clouds were like mountains as they covered the sky above the Demon Valley continent and suppressed the earth. A terrifying will pressed down on Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan wanted to see through the true heavenly passage realm. It was not like the so-called heavenly passage realm for ordinary people. There was a fundamental difference between the two. As long as he broke through to the heavenly passage realm, the broad path of the great Tao would appear in front of Yi Qinghan. He would be able to cultivate the divine martial imperial code from back then and be truly invincible in the same realm. He would be able to look down on all heroes with the bearing of a supreme war king. Yi Qinghan used his divine sense to connect with the sea of bitterness and entered the land of chaos. He used the land of chaos to connect with the mysteries of heaven, predict good fortune, and turn it into danger. The mountain range was drowned by endless rain as tribulation clouds gathered. In terms of difficulty, the heavenly passage realm was perhaps the most difficult to break through. It was even more difficult than the Fate Palace. The heavenly passage was in the heavens and the Fate Palace was in one's own body. Yi Qinghan wanted to pry into the mysteries of heaven and actually attracted a lightning tribulation. This made the parrot furious. Damn, what is this demon trying to do? Isn't the lightning tribulation only at the Tao sovereign realm? The parrot was shocked as it looked at the pressure in the sky that wanted to destroy the mountain range. It trembled and wanted to escape, but Emperor Yi pressed it firmly to the ground. What are you doing? Let me go. If you anger this divine bird, I'll burn you. The parrot struggled and roared angrily. Aren't you a loyal martyr for generations? Master is breaking through to the heavenly passage realm and is attracting a lightning tribulation. Shouldn't you share some of the burden? You actually want to run? What kind of martyr are you? Emperor Yi mocked. What do you know? They died because they were martyrs. I don't want to die. I'm loyal and devoted, but I don't want to be a martyr. You brat, let me go. No. If you dare to move again, I'll throw you into the lightning tribulation the moment it comes down. You'll have to help Master withstand the lightning tribulation. Emperor Yi threatened. The parrot immediately became a lot more well-behaved, and said with an embarrassed smile, Young Master, don't joke around. My small body can't withstand the thunder tribulation at all. I'm just a piece of trash that's throwing away my life. You can't let me make a meaningless sacrifice. Shameless. Emperor Yi was speechless. He threw the parrot to the back and summoned the divine zither. He said in a deep voice, I'm going to block the heavenly secrets from spying on this place. You better behave yourself. Otherwise, I'll lead the lightning tribulation to you. The parrot twitched its body and glared at Emperor Yi with disdain. Then, it obediently stayed by his side. Emperor Yi gently plucked the strings of the zither, and the sound of the zither spread out. Strands of heavenly sounds went against the heavens, triggering a backlash. The heavy rain reversed and formed a waterfall that poured into the distance. The vitality of this place was suddenly boundless. Even the heavenly Tao couldn't bear to destroy it. His beautiful hair fluttered in the wind. Gradually, Emperor Yi was immersed in the Tao of the zither. The burial emperor's chant caused the great Tao to collapse. The terrifying great emperors will suppress everything. The patterns of the great Tao became clear and visible. Yi Qinghan's eyes shot out, seeing through the void and peering into the power of the heavenly abode. He could forcefully borrow the power of the heavenly abode for his own use. It was no longer like the bitter sea stage, where he needed to slowly gather his aura. Boom boom boom, his vital essence became rich, and the surrounding spirit crystals turned into fine powder. The spiritual energy was instantly forcefully taken away by Yi Qinghan. The fine powder of the spirit crystals was blown away by the cold wind. Divine light flowed all over his body, crystal clear. His azure dragon arms were about to reach the sky. The blood in his blood vessels formed an azure dragon, crushing all bottlenecks. The heavenly abode appears, the imperial codex appears. 9 dragons pull the carriage, a rainbow phoenix as the crown. One eye of the emperors will can sink the heavens. A corner of the sea of consciousness exploded, and a slightly deep voice exploded. It was as if Yi Qinghan had appeared at the peak of the sea of consciousness. The end of the sea of consciousness was covered with multicolored light. 9 dragons pulled the imperial codex, and a rainbow phoenix danced gracefully. The imperial codex appeared in the sky above the sea of consciousness. It was ancient and oppressive, causing Yi Qinghan to have no choice but to lower his arrogant head. This was the divine martial imperial codex. At the moment Yi Qinghan self-detonated, it brought his soul through the universe and entered the edge of the Owl Dragon region. After entering the Owl Fall Star, it sealed itself. If Yi Qinghan didn't reach the heavenly abode realm, the divine martial imperial codex would never appear. The divine martial imperial codex was only the size of a palm, but the 4 words were soul-stirring and suppressed all chaos. It contained the profound meaning of the law that was hard to understand. Just one look at it would cause one's mind to be in chaos and one's Tao heart to be shattered. Yi Qinghan's eyes shot out a ray of cold light. Seeing the divine martial imperial codex appear in the sea of consciousness, he clenched his fists. The little man in the sea of consciousness had his black hair fluttering. He reached out and grabbed the demon dragon saber. Looking at the 4 words on the divine martial imperial codex, he started to cultivate crazily. Swish! 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 The saber radiance flashed, and the demonic aura stirred the sea of consciousness. The little man's power was terrifying. He could see through the sky, but he couldn't see through the divine martial imperial codex. Open! Yi Qinghan muttered. The little man pointed at the imperial codex, intending to open it and cultivate it officially. The divine martial imperial codex automatically opened to the first page. The difficult words released a terrifying power that seemed to be able to suppress a Tao sovereign and crush the heavens and earth. Saber God Chapter. If you want to cultivate the saber, you must understand the saber. The saber is the emperor of weapons. Once the saber Tao appears, all Taos will submit. With the saber in hand, I am invincible. The domineering heart, the divine aura of the saber, the mad man, the god of the saber. Controlling the saber, all things are the saber. Being controlled by the saber, all things are the enemy. Hurting others, hurting oneself. Who can compete with a 9th-grade madman? A domineering and arrogant aura gushed out from the imperial codex, intimidating all evil and evil people. It was definitely the natural enemy of the evil sword Tao. Those with evil intentions didn't even have the courage to look at it. The few sentences of the Saber God chapter were filled with the supreme domineering aura of the Emperor. These words were accompanied by the profound meaning of the laws and the patterns of the great Tao. They kept drilling into Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. They were difficult to understand, and they stirred up Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. It was as if he had been reborn. The little man formed by the soul of a grand marshal venerable coughed out blood and flew backward, unable to resist. Yi Qinghan's face was pale. He coughed out a mouthful of essence blood and his consciousness stopped looking at the divine martial imperial codex. The words of the imperial codex contained the patterns of the great Tao. Looking at it too much was not beneficial. If someone's willpower was not strong enough, their Tao heart would be shattered and they would die. At this moment, Yi Qinghan had not officially broken into the heavenly insight realm. It was already very powerful for him to be able to look at it and not die. In the quote, a ninth-grade madman was an extreme weapon. It was a pity that Yi Qinghan could not create a true 7-foot madman. Otherwise, a strand of saber aura would be able to destroy a huge star. The true ninth-grade madman had already disappeared in the long river of history. Yi Qinghan stood up coldly. His black hair fluttered in the sky. The aura of the demon dragon saber in his hand exploded. Every time he looked at the quote of the Saber God chapter, his domineering aura would increase, and his understanding of the way of the saber would deepen. If I am a heavenly insight, who dares to stop me? Yi Qinghan stepped out of the cave and rose into the sky. His eyes could see through everything and looked directly at the origin of the great Tao. The origin of water wrapped around his body and formed a huge water dragon. He did not need to use any true essence to stand in midair. Boom! The tribulation clouds appeared again. The golden lightning contained the profundity of the great Tao and struck the mountain range. It was deafening. Humph! You don't care about what you should care about and meddle in what you shouldn't. You are really useless. What's the use of your heavenly insight? What's the use of fearing you? Yi Qinghan mocked with disdain. The veins on his azure dragon arm bulged and turned into a heavenly dragon that coiled around the demon dragon saber. He pointed to the sky and shouted arrogantly, "The heavenly insight is not benevolent. I want to seal the heavens. The great Tao is merciless. My saber will break the firmament." Whoosh! 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 The bucket-like lightning crossed the void and turned into a golden dragon that swam between heaven and earth. The entire Owlfall star could feel the crazy lightning tribulation that wanted to destroy everything. Slash! Yi Qinghan held the demon dragon saber and slashed at the incoming golden lightning. When the two came into contact, the golden lightning wrapped around the demon dragon saber. The demon dragon saber was no longer gloomy and filled with baleful aura. Instead, it was shining with golden radiance and emitted the aura of an emperor. The lightning followed the demon dragon saber and penetrated Yi Qinghan's body. The purple battle robe on his upper body turned into fine powder, revealing his strong bronze skin. He was as steady as Mount Tai and did not move at all. The golden lightning swam around Yi Qinghan's body. Not only did he not dodge, he even used the lightning to refine his body. His muscles turned dark, and after being washed by the rain, they shone with golden radiance as if he had a divine body. The azure dragon arm was even more captivating. It wrapped around the demon dragon saber tightly and merged with it. It was invincible and constantly repelled the lightning. The lightning shattered his skin, causing blood to splatter everywhere and dye his entire body red. The golden blood swam around his injured body and healed it continuously. He became incomparably strong. In terms of physical strength, no one in the same realm could compete with him except for some terrifying ancient special constitutions. Yi Qinghan became more and more courageous as he fought. He started to counterattack the lightning tribulation. His figure rose higher and higher, and his saber Tao became sharper. It was invincible and could shatter space. He was only half a step away from the real Grotto Heaven realm. As long as he could break through this lightning tribulation, Yi Qinghan would be able to use the momentum to fly. When he faced an opponent like Stan Yunqian again, he would have the ability to compete with him. Even if he was defeated, he would not lose his life. The parrot was trembling all over. It looked at Yi Qinghan crazily pouncing on the lightning tribulation and cursed inwardly, "Fuck, he is really a madman. If I follow you, I will be killed by you sooner or later." On the other hand, Emperor Yi was extremely excited. He was attracted by Yi Qinghan's overbearing aura. Only when she was by his side did she feel extremely safe. No one could hurt her at all. The god-slaying eagle looked at Yi Qinghan in awe. At this moment it was completely subdued. In the past, it only wanted to use the shape-shifting art. But now, it wanted to be loyal and did not dare to go against his will. Yi Qinghan turned his back to the common people. His golden hair fluttered behind his back. He stood there like a god of war. No matter how strong the lightning tribulation was, he would rather die than retreat. With a saber in hand, I am invincible. When I attack fiercely, who can compete with me? Yi Qinghan raised his saber. His voice was like thunder, majestic and ancient. It shook the heavens and the earth. The lightning tribulation trembled and its power weakened. Open. Grotto Heaven Realm, appear. Yi Qinghan roared furiously. He held his saber and slashed at the center of the tribulation clouds. His true origin poured out and turned into a real dragon. It crushed the shackles and entered the tribulation clouds, swallowing everything. Hum, 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 the heavenly dragon opened the way. The demon dragon saber was struck with a wild power. It was wild but not loud. It was fierce and overbearing. It directly broke through the tribulation clouds. The dark clouds in the sky dispersed. He raised his eyebrows and stood proudly at the top of the dome of heaven. Who would dare to stop him? The parrot was overjoyed. It flapped its wings and wriggled its fat body. It shouted, "Master is mighty and domineering. Attack fiercely and unify the world. Yo, yo, yo." Chapter 134. Such a dignified moment was completely destroyed by the parrot's obscene words. Emperor Yi put away his guqin and stood up. He curled his lips in disdain and mocked, "You're just a fence-sitter. You're full of lies. You only know how to bootlick. Nonsense. I'm a loyal spirit pet that protects my master. Of course I'm happy when my master breaks through. As my master's disciple, you don't even celebrate. Instead, you blame this divine bird. Unfilial, bang." Emperor Yi lifted his golden lotus foot and kicked the parrot away. Ayah. Ayat #yen%. Yi Qinghan's divine aura was vast and mighty. He looked down on all living beings. With a wave of his hand, the origin of water dispersed. He relied on the momentum of heaven and earth to fly in the air. He was graceful and agile, incomparably carefree. He stretched out his 10 fingers and took a deep breath. He muttered to himself, "I haven't flown in a long time. I want to step on the sky." Confident, arrogant, domineering. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's aura was indescribable. His eyes were deep and bright, charming and enchanting. His thin lips curled up slightly, revealing his evil and arrogant temperament. "Master is so handsome. Fortunately, I'm not female." The parrot flew into the sky flatteringly to welcome Yi Qinghan. "If you shut up, I can be even more handsome." Yi Qinghan looked coldly at the parrot. He then continued to comprehend the Grotto Heaven realm and the mysteries of heaven. The parrot smiled embarrassedly, not feeling embarrassed at all. An hour later, after confirming that Si Kaiyun's qi and blood had returned to normal and that his combat strength had greatly decreased, Yi Qinghan stepped on the ground. He waved his hand and the parrot was captured on his shoulder. He said hoarsely, "God-slaying eagle, let's return to the continent." The god-slaying eagle spread its wings and flew high. Yi Qinghan pulled Emperor Ye's small hand and gently shook. His body landed on the back of the god-slaying eagle. He stood against the wind and broke through the waves. His aura was overwhelming. His black hair and clothes fluttered. Fire Cloud City. Tang Quan and the others were filled with killing intent. They glared at Lu Patian and said coldly, "Yi Qinghan has a sister in Lu Lan, right? Hand her over to me." Lu Potion's face was gloomy. He clenched his fists and said aggressively, "Senior, I respectfully call you, Senior, but please maintain your attitude and treat yourself as someone important." What do you think Lulan is? If I get whatever I want, how am I going to establish myself in the future? What's more, you're an old man who's almost 500 years old. You're going to kidnap a 5-year-old girl to threaten a 10-year-old boy. We haven't even confirmed that Yi Qinghan did this. If you do this, where's your face? You are courting death. Since when did it become your turn to judge the way this old man does things? Tang Quan was incomparably overbearing as he berated in disdain. Yes, I'm not qualified to comment, but don't forget that this is ancient Lulan, an empire with thousands of years of history. If you want Yi Qinghan's sister, then you have to be prepared for a lose-lose situation. I'm afraid of death, but that doesn't mean I'm not willing to fight. Lu Patian was furious. Tang Quan's actions were simply humiliating Lu Lan and him. Mutual destruction. Do you want both Lu Lan and the 4 major powers to suffer? Are you worthy? Tang Quan mocked in disdain. The atmosphere in Flaming Cloud City was so oppressive that it was difficult to breathe. None of the overlords dared to interrupt the battle between the Life Palace realm powerhouses. Dongfang Haoyue and Situ Wanli's faces darkened. They did not say anything, but it was obvious that they supported Tang Quan's plan to kidnap Yi Mengshi and threaten Yi Qinghan. However, Yi Kongqing did not look too good. He felt that it was unwise to kidnap a 5-year-old to threaten another child in public. Shen Yuanyu's face turned even uglier. He did not expect Tang Quan to be so shameless as he got older. He was going to use a 5-year-old girl to threaten others. My auction house will not allow such a thing to happen. Senior Tang Quan, please think carefully before you do anything. Don't embarrass yourself as a Life Palace realm powerhouse. If Yi Qinghan is really the murderer of Tang Sheng and the others, you can do anything you want and we won't stop you. However, you haven't even done your research and you're going to kidnap a little girl from ancient Lulan to threaten others. You're making a fool of yourself. Shen Yuanyu mocked. You're too arrogant. Can you represent the entire auction house? Tang Quan said in disdain. I can. Yi Qinghan saved the entire Flaming Cloud City. I don't think you've forgotten, right? We can't protect our savior, but at least we can't let him be the scapegoat. Otherwise, we're not worthy of being human. Don't you think so? Shen Yuanyu's aura soared as he looked down at the people of Flaming Cloud City and shouted in a deep voice. Yes. We can't let Mr. Yi be the scapegoat. Our lives were saved by Mr. Yi. Stand up and say something. At this moment, the people of Flaming Cloud City were not ordinary people. There were countless Bitter Sea Realm and Grotto Heaven Realm powerhouses who had come to support Flaming Cloud City in the fight against the monster horde. They represented the entire Owl Falling Star. Tang Quan and the others had to take their feelings into consideration. We won't allow anyone to slander Mr. Yi. Some people are just sour grapes. We can't trust the words of the Qin clan. Someone in the crowd said in a deep voice. Obviously, they were unhappy with the Qin clan. Emperor Yi had said in front of everyone that his surname was not Qin, but Yi. The Qin clan did not get any benefits, so they started to slander Yi Qinghan. No one was happy to slander the god of war in their hearts. Yi Qinghan's battle had established his prestige, and he had also given them the corpse of the 4th-grade demonic beast. In their hearts, they naturally supported Yi Qinghan. Furthermore, the auction house and Lu Lan had taken the lead. They only supported them mentally and did not want to offend Tang Quan and the others too much. Tang Quan's face darkened. His eyes were even sharper than an eagle's as he stared at Lu Patian and Shen Yuanyu. Realizing that they were so determined to protect Yi Mengshi even if they had to offend the 4-limit realm cultivators, Tang Quan's killing intent rose. Let's go Lu Lan. I want to see if that old man Lu Lan will go against us for a little girl. Tang Quan said to Situ Wanli and the others in disdain. Brother Tang, I don't think it's appropriate to catch that little girl. After all, she's only 5 years old. If they find out that it wasn't Yi Qinghan who did it, how will we explain it? Yi Kongqing frowned and asked. What's there to explain? If I catch the wrong person, I'll just let her go. He still dares to ask me for an explanation. Tang Quan sneered and said domineeringly. Lu Patian and the others were speechless. This old thing was simply unreasonable. Tang Quan's hegemonic words also caused some people to be disgusted. Yi Kongqing was speechless. He was also annoyed by these brainless words. He said coldly, I won't get involved in this matter. I can't afford to lose face. It's fine if you don't get involved, as long as you don't stand against me. I don't believe that Xianyuan Qinshao and Lu Guyun will dare to go against our three clans. Tang Quan finished speaking and rushed towards ancient Lu Land's capital with Situ Wanli and the others. Lu Patian and Xianyuan Yu looked at each other and also rushed over. Their killing intent was everywhere, intimidating Lu Lan and making people panic. The strong were merciless. Once they fought, the ones who were injured would always be the weak cultivators. They would be crushed by the merciless aftershocks and die miserably. At this moment, Si Yunchen led the group to wipe out the blood fiend but still couldn't find Yi Qinghan. Si Kaiyun broke through the void and descended. He was covered in blood and looked extremely old. He said in a low voice, return to Sea Star quickly. This old man needs to recuperate. A large cloud-piercing ship was summoned. A group of people stepped on it and soared into the sky. They disappeared from Owlfall Star in the blink of an eye and brushed past Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan had just arrived at the Demon Valley. He put away the god-slaying eagle and summoned the fifth-tier vibrating spirit wings. He used stellar transposition and instantly traveled 100 miles. He arrived at Fire Cloud City but found the atmosphere strange. Many people were looking at him at the same time. Their gazes made him frown. Mr. Yi, quickly go to Lolan's capital. Someone wants to capture your younger sister. Someone secretly shouted, and then the crowd fell into dead silence. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and flapped his wings. He swept up the sand and stones and rushed towards ancient Lulan's capital. Lolan's capital was close to the center of Zhongzhou. It was one of the most prosperous areas where countless powerful warriors gathered. The headquarters of the auction house was not far from here. The arrival of so many fate palaces with murderous intents shocked many people. In the depths of the underground palace of Lolan's capital, a terrifying aura was awakened. At the same time, in the headquarters of the auction house, another terrifying aura was awakening as well. Why aren't you all cultivating at home and fighting for the last chance? Why are you all out here? Lu Guyun, the Lulan divine ancestor, walked out of the underground palace. He had white hair and looked like an immortal. He was the great general who had accompanied Lu Patian to conquer many territories. He was twice as old as Lu Patian and was close to 500 years old. He was only a few years away from the end of his life. His aura was terrifying and unparalleled, not inferior to Tang Quan and the others. Brother Lu, our Tang clan, Sita clan, and Dongfang clan have all fallen at the same time. The murderer escaped, but his sister is still in the imperial capital. I hope Brother Lu can find her and hand her over to us. Tang Quan said in a low voice. 3 fate palaces fell at the same time. Was it done by one person? Lu Guyun frowned in disbelief. We haven't found out yet. Tang Quan murmured in shock. Then did you find out that it was definitely done by that person? Where is his sister? Lu Guyun asked again. We haven't found out yet, but there's an 80% chance that it was done by him. As for his sister, she's in your palace. I think she should be in the Crown Prince mansion right now. Hand her over to me and I'll naturally find out. Tang Quan said domineeringly. Are you old or do you think I'm a sick cat? Lu Guyun's aura turned cold and said with disdain, we're all at the end of our lifespans and we're all fighting for our last breath. You haven't found out anything yet. You came to me in such an aggressive manner and asked me to hand her over. Moreover, she's a guest of my Lulan crown prince. Are you slapping my face? Do you think I care about 2 or 3 years of lifespan? Tang Quan's expression turned ugly. Why was Lulan always such a wretch? Hand her over to me and I'll find out. Tang Quan shouted angrily. Who do you think you are? Why should I hand her over to you? Even if you find out that it was done by that person, what does it have to do with his sister? Go find him if you have the ability. Lu Guyun was even more arrogant. He was indeed the #1 general in the past. He was an iron-blooded general who conquered half of the Owl Falling Star. Xianyuan Chenshao grinned and said to Lu Patian, Patian, bring that girl out to see. She's actually worth such an expert's attention. I'm a little interested. Senior, she's only 5 years old. Her brother is not even 20 years old and his cultivation is only 7 stars of the bitter sea. Lu Patian smiled bitterly. Ha ha ha. Xianyuan Chenshao and Lu Guyun laughed crazily as if they had heard the funniest joke. They looked at Tang Quan and the others with disdain. Chapter 135. In Lulan Empire's capital, some experts were laughing madly. 3 great limit experts came to the empire and demanded a 5-year-old girl to threaten an 18 or 19-year-old youth. This sounded like a joke. Tang Quan and the other two's faces were ashen. They felt nauseous as if they had eaten a fly. At this moment, Lu Outyan walked out of the palace alone. He was wearing the golden armor of the crown prince. He was handsome and vigorous, and looked like a deity. At this moment, he represented the entire Lulan Empire. His aura was majestic, and his entire temperament had clearly changed. Faintly discernible sword chi lingered around his golden body. The current crown prince of Lulan greets the divine ancestor, great ancestor, and seniors. Lu Outyan bowed slightly. He was neither servile nor overbearing. When Tang Quan saw Lu Outyan, he said coldly, Lu Outyan, hand Yi Mingxi over to me. Lu Outyan cultivated the 5th grade great reincarnation sword art. His aura was completely different from before. His king aura was dense and he was more confident. In a short month, he had broken through to the Grotto Heaven realm. Hearing Tang Quan's overbearing tone, he couldn't help but frown. Senior is so rude. This junior greets senior as a crown prince. It's fine if you don't reply, but you actually ordered me to do so. Are you looking down on our Lulan divine ancestor? Less nonsense. I'll ask you one thing today. Are you going to hand her over or not? Tang Quan asked coldly. Such a forceful tone and rude attitude angered Lu Guyun and the others. However, they didn't say anything. Instead, they looked at Lu Outyan with the intention of testing him. Lu Outyan was indifferent. He wasn't suppressed by Tang Quan's aura. Instead, he replied even more forcefully, what a joke. If I go to the Tang family and slap you, then ask you to hand her over, what will you do? Don't blame me for not respecting you. You're courting death. Don't think that Lu Guyun can protect you. Tang Quan threatened. It doesn't matter if I can protect her or not. What's more important is dignity. You're asking me for her for no reason and using such an attitude. What's more, it's easy for you to kill me. When my divine ancestor comes to kill your Tang family members, can you protect her? Lu Outyan wasn't afraid. Good. Good. You're sharp-tongued. Tang Quan was exasperated. He knew that he was in the wrong. He paused and said, Yi Mingxi's brother, Yi Qinghan, is suspected of killing 3 great Fate Palace experts. I want to use Yi Mingxi to lure Yi Qinghan out. So, please cooperate. Hand Yi Mingxi. And I owe you a favor. You're really interesting. My brother Yi Qinghan is only at the 8th star of the Bitter Sea realm. There's a huge gap between him and the 3 Fate Palace cultivators. It's indeed a pity that Senior Tang Sheng and the others died, but this matter has nothing to do with my brother Yi Qinghan, right? Without him, Flaming Cloud City would have been destroyed. How can you be at ease here? What's more, even if Tang Sheng and the other Fate Palace experts were killed by my brother, Yi Qinghan. If you want revenge, you should look for him, not me. You shouldn't look for his 5-year-old sister. He trusted me. That's why he gave Mengshi to me. If I give her to you and you use her to threaten my brother, wouldn't that be the biggest joke in the world? Lu Outyen retorted coldly. You're forcing me to make a move. Tang Quan's murderous aura exploded and shrouded Lu Outyen. How dare you? Lu Guyun was furious. He stepped forward and was as domineering as Tang Quan. How dare you? A domineering voice broke through the air. It pierced through the clouds and shook the heavens and 10 lands. Before the person arrived, the pressure had already descended. Whoosh! A black shadow streaked across the void and traveled dozens of miles in an instant. It was extremely fast. Afterimages filled the void behind it. Its huge wings flapped the sky and stirred up the wind. It was so fast that even the Fate Palace experts gasped. It felt like teleportation. 1 second, it was hundreds of miles away, and the next, it appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's black hair fluttered in the air while Emperor Yi hung around his neck. His purple robe fluttered in the wind. His vigorous body stood proudly in front of everyone. The aura of the Grotto Heaven realm permeated the air. His eyes were like those of an unparalleled master, emitting a terrifying will. You're the one who wants to threaten me with my sister's life. Yi Qinghan's murderous aura burst out as he stared at Tang Quan. His gaze was like a terrifying viper staring at its prey. It was fine if he didn't move, but if he moved, blood would stain 5 steps. You're Yi Qinghan. The murderous aura in Tang Quan's eyes had reached its peak. He was furious. So what if I am? Yi Qinghan asked coldly. Their aura soared as they clashed violently. The people around them had goosebumps and quickly retreated. In the end, there were only a few Fate Palace experts left within a radius of 5 miles. Lu Outyen, Lu Patian, Xian Yuanyu and the rest had all retreated a mile away. Yi Qinghan and Tang Quan were each more overbearing and crazy than the other. They had no intention of retreating at all. They didn't even ask a second question as they confronted each other directly. Their eyes were filled with murderous aura. Yi Qinghan's arrogance stunned Lu Guyun and Xianyuan Qinshao. They didn't expect this young man to come out of nowhere and start a conflict with Tang Quan without any hesitation. Tang Quan mobilized the force of the universe and pressed it against Yi Qinghan. Wind and clouds surged as his murderous aura surged. He said coldly, Tang Sheng, Situ Feng and Dongfang Yu are all dead. My pet, Xiao Chang, is also dead. Yi Qinghan replied disdainfully. What does your pet's death have to do with me? Tang Quan said furiously. What does Tang Sheng and Dongfang Yu's death have to do with my master? You idiot, you don't even understand what I'm saying. You're lucky to be able to live to this age. The parrot sat on Emperor Ye's shoulder and said disdainfully. Cough, cough. Tang Quan couldn't catch his breath and almost died from anger. He clenched his fist and roared, Young man, you're courting death. You little thing, when I was conquering the world, you were still playing with mud. How dare you act so arrogant in front of me? I'll show you what true arrogance looks like. What kind of arrogance looks like? Yi Qinghan waved his hand and the devil dragon saber appeared in his hand. His aura exploded and was unparalleled. He was furious. His eyes contained the power of heaven and earth. A wisp of profound law was attached to the saber. He looked up at Tang Quan and pointed his saber, shocking the entire square. Everyone gasped and had goosebumps all over their bodies. Some people felt their blood boiling. They felt as if they were going to confront Tang Quan personally. Tang Quan was too overbearing and unreasonable. Now that an even more overbearing and arrogant young man had appeared, their hearts were on Yi Qinghan's side. They wanted to slap Tang Quan a few times. This kind of arrogance also had the capital. Yi Qinghan had the soul of a great revered martial artist. He had a tyrannical body and could fly freely. His Qi-Ci's true origin had reached the Great Circle. In addition, he had high-grade spiritual crystals. He was proud of being unparalleled in the same realm. In terms of weapons, the Devil Dragon Saber was the best. In terms of secret techniques, he could kill any expert in Xiaolong region. How could Tang Quan compete with him in terms of arrogance? Ignorant junior, aren't you a bit too arrogant? No one has ever dared to speak to us like this. Situ Wanli said coldly as he stepped forward and used the momentum to pressure Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan smirked. If they wanted to compete with him in terms of force, once the aura of a great revered martial artist burst out, he could crush them alive. However, it was not the time to reveal his identity as a great revered martial artist. With force alone, it was not a problem to fight against 2 or 3 Life Palace realm experts. That's because you haven't met me. Now that I'm talking to you like this, are you going to threaten me with my 5-year-old sister's life? Or are you going to fight with me? Yi Qinghan mocked. A dragon had a reverse scale. Anyone who touched it would die. Having said that, did they still expect Yi Qinghan to compromise? It was not that Yi Qinghan had not endured humiliation before, but that was only for enemies who could not fight back at all. For example, Stan Star. Fighting against Stan Star now was a foolish move. However, for a few great revered martial artists who needed to escape a month ago, there was no need to do so now. He could drag them to death by dragging them out. Great revered martial artists did not have enough qi and blood and did not have much vitality. They relied on force to suppress others and burst out to kill people. However, once they encountered a terrifying opponent, they could drag on for 6 hours without dying. The great revered martial artist would automatically die. Ha ha ha, good. Good courage. No wonder Ao Tian is so protective of you. This old man admires you for your unyielding character. Lu Guyun clapped and laughed. He stood in front of Yi Qinghan and released his force to block Tang Quan's force. He said coldly, everyone, Yi Qinghan is my Lulan Crown Prince's friend, so he is my Lulan Crown Prince's friend. If you want to deal with him, you have to show evidence. Otherwise, saying that it was groundless is too overbearing. Yi Qinghan had a conflict with Tang Sheng, and before he died, he went to Yi Qinghan. Now that he's dead, if it wasn't Yi Qinghan who did it, then who did it? Tang Quan asked angrily. Tang Quan, first of all, since you said that I had a conflict with Tang Sheng and the others, and they went to find me, do you think they were going to kowtow to me and admit their mistake or kill me? Do you think the 3 Fate Palaces would kowtow to me and admit their mistake? Obviously not. They definitely wanted to kill me. If they wanted to kill me and were killed by me instead, wouldn't they deserve to die? Secondly, according to your logic, you had a conflict with me, and my pet Xiao Chang was in Flaming Cloud City. It must be you who killed it, right? Thirdly, if you really want to prove that I killed Tang Sheng and the others, can you show me some reliable evidence? If you just want to kill me, then there's no need to talk so much nonsense. Today, you and I will fight one-on-one. If you can leave alive, then I will die. If I leave alive, then you will definitely die. Yi Qinghan flipped his demon blade and pulled Emperor Yi down with one hand. He went forward and confronted Tang Quan without any intention of compromising. Kakik, Tang Quan was so angry that his teeth were itching. He had never seen such a crazy junior. A trash at the first step of the Grotto Heaven realm actually dared to talk to him like this. Good. Since you dare to say this, it means that you are not afraid of death. This old man will let you know that there is a price to pay for your arrogance. Tang Quan was furious. He pulled out his sword and the sword chi pierced through heaven and earth. This seat will also let you know that as an old man who is about to reach the end of his life, you should stay at home and wait for death. You shouldn't take advantage of your seniority and act crazy to bully others. Yi Qinghan replied with disdain. Chapter 136. Swords were drawn and bows were drawn. Killing intent engulfed heaven and earth, and the atmosphere was oppressive. Yi Qinghan was arrogant to the extreme. Even in the face of a great limit, he did not retreat. Many people were curious and looked at Yi Qinghan in shock. How could a young man who had just broken through to the heavenly passage realm have such courage to face a great limit expert? Swoosh! Yi Qinghan borrowed the momentum of heaven and earth, flapped his wings and flew high. His hair danced wildly, and his face was firm and resolute. The demonic aura of the demon dragon saber soared to the sky, and a baleful aura filled the air. He pointed his saber at Tang Quan and said coldly, "Come, in terms of fighting and risking my life, I, Yi Qinghan, have never been afraid of anyone. For someone like you, whose vitality is dim, even if you stab me 10 times, you might not be able to kill me. Crazy. Tyrannical. Barbaric. What a good way to say that if you stab me 10 times and I don't die, I'll kill you with one slash." This was a completely suicidal way of fighting. Just this momentum alone was enough to scare many people. In this world, who was not afraid of death? The corner of Tang Quan's mouth twitched. This was the first time he had seen such a madman. Such a tyrannical and crazy momentum that did not put anyone in his eyes made him shudder. However, a great limit realm expert was still a great limit realm expert. He was much stronger than Yi Qinghan. No matter how terrifying Yi Qinghan's aura was, it couldn't scare him to the point where he didn't even dare to fight. Good. This old man wants to see how you'll slash me today. Tang Quan sneered. His murderous intent radiated in all directions. His figure moved and rushed into the sky. Yi Qinghan's figure continued to rise, and his momentum became stronger. His eyes flickered with divine light as he wanted to drag this great limit expert to death. He already had a plan in his mind. This great limit expert had a fatal weakness, and that was that they could not withstand a protracted battle. Their peak battle strength could only last for an hour, and then they would gradually weaken. After 2 hours, they would show signs of defeat. After 4 hours, they would be powerless, and after 6 hours, they would undoubtedly die. As long as Yi Qinghan could hold on for 4 hours, Tang Quan would definitely die. The vibrating spiritual wings flapped in the sky, rolling up the airflow. Yi Qinghan held the sky and white clouds, and divinity radiated in all directions. The experts all rushed into the clouds, quietly watching the battle that was about to begin. Hiss, cold light burst out from the long saber, tearing the void. The murderous aura was so dense that it confronted Tang Quan from 1,000 meters away. A distance of 1,000 meters might seem very far, but when the two experts charged at each other, it would only take an instant. It couldn't be considered a distance at all. Ding! The cold sword in Tang Quan's hand was unsheathed. Sword chi crisscrossed, almost stepping into the ranks of war weapons. A terrifying pressure intimidated the 9 heavens. His face was full of disdain. Tang Quan had comprehended a sliver of the sword Dao. Although it was only an embryonic form, its power was definitely not low. No wonder he was so domineering. Sky-shattering sword Dao. Die. Hum hum hum. Whoosh, Tang Quan's sword force was like a rainbow, transforming into a sharp sword and fusing with the spirit weapon in his hand, shattering the void and instantly breaking through space. In the blink of an eye, he was not far away from Yi Qinghan, stabbing straight for his chest. Before he even arrived, the sword chi had already torn apart Yi Qinghan's clothes. Hiss hiss, The sound of clothes being torn apart was especially ear-piercing. Xianyuan Qianxiao and Lu Guyun frowned as they watched. They were somewhat worried about Yi Qinghan. Who can contend against me when I attack violently? Yi Qinghan muttered. The veins on his azure dragon arm bulged as his aura soared into the galaxy. The clothes on his right arm were torn apart as divine light circulated. It was extremely terrifying. Whirlwind slash. Swish. 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 Yi Qinghan was powerful and almost instantly exploded with his peak battle strength. His vital essence poured out crazily as his body drove the saber to spin rapidly, forming a huge defensive saber chi shield around him. Clang! 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 The saber and sword collided, piercing everyone's eardrums. Even the great limit experts felt uncomfortable and retreated. Tang Quan's boundless vital essence poured out from the spirit weapon. It was invincible and had boundless strength. It almost instantly defeated Yi Qinghan, but it didn't break through the defensive chi shield. Boom! The tip of the sword collided with the back of the demon dragon saber. A wisp of sword aura rushed into Yi Qinghan's body and broke through his defense. His body seemed extremely weak as it directly penetrated through his body. The blood sword rushed into the clouds. The difference was too great. It wasn't that Yi Qinghan wasn't strong enough, but that the great limit experts were too terrifying and their sword aura was too sharp. Yi Qinghan was injured in one move, but Tang Quan wasn't satisfied. A sword at its peak was enough to kill an ordinary Fate Palace Realm warrior. However, against Yi Qinghan, only a wisp of sword aura broke through his defense. Although Yi Qinghan was injured, he grinned. If he could block the first move, he could block the second. He could even hold on for 2 hours. Saber breaking the firmament. Slash. Yi Qinghan advanced instead of retreating. He raised his saber and broke through the void. The azure dragon arm and the demon dragon saber intertwined. There was nothing they couldn't break. His aura was superb as he struck out with a terrifying unrivaled will. It shook the hearts of the heroes. Arrogant brat. I'll send you to hell in 3 moves to appease the souls of Tang Sheng and the others in heaven. Whoosh, the sword aura pierced through the air with extreme sharpness. The tip of the sword trembled and 3 sword flowers turned into the sharpest weapon. They formed a triangular formation and attacked Yi Qinghan. Boom, 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 both sides were extremely aggressive and didn't leave any leeway. They wanted to kill each other in one move. The strong collision caused the sky to fall and the earth to crack. Although they were thousands of meters high in the sky, the capital city was clearly shaking. Some houses had already begun to collapse. The frightened citizens fled to the square in despair. Pfft! Yi Qinghan spat out a mouthful of blood essence. The azure dragon arm exploded and blood splattered everywhere. He was bathed in a river of blood. Tang Quan's face turned pale. His body trembled as he felt his blood essence burning rapidly. His vitality was flowing faster and faster. The few years he had left were about to disappear. He couldn't help but groan inwardly. Yi Qinghan's strength was so great that Tang Quan felt exhausted even when he tried his best. Divine light circulated and his injured body rapidly recovered. Yi Qinghan didn't have much, but his blood essence was vigorous and his vitality was boundless. He could afford it. The azure dragon arm shone with golden light and recovered to its peak in the blink of an eye. He then charged at Tang Quan as if he didn't care about his life. Let's see how many moves you can take. Swish, 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 Yi Qinghan slashed out hundreds of times in an instant. His moves were as smooth as moving clouds and flowing water. He was as fast as lightning. The sharp blade split open the space and caused a spatial storm. Boom, 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 Tang Quan was shocked and his sword moved even faster. He actually blocked all the hundreds of moves. However, His blood essence was boiling and his vitality was dissipating more than 10 times faster than before. Yi Qinghan grinned and sneered. He didn't care about his serious injuries and roared crazily, "Let's see how many more moves you can take." Deity sees. 1 slash, 10,000 Tao rise and fall. Boom. This slash contained the profundities of the law. The domineering aura of the saber god was indomitable as he transformed into a war god. His whole body was covered in golden blood under the sunlight. This slash was as fast as lightning and couldn't be dodged. It shocked the mind and had the effect of seizing the soul. Tang Quan was only stunned for a moment and lost the opportunity to dodge. He could only raise his sword and take it head-on. Unparalleled sword Dao. Open. Tang Quan went crazy and his eyes revealed a sinister look. He used his strongest combat strength and tried to kill Yi Qinghan in one move or make him lose the ability to fight again. Otherwise, he would be the first to lose his strength. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Boom. The two's attacks shattered the void and collided in the blink of an eye. Cracks appeared in the sky and a huge crack appeared in the plaza 1,000 meters below. It was incomparably terrifying. Yi Qinghan's 7 orifices were bleeding. The flesh on his azure dragon arm exploded and only his golden battle bones were left. His body was like a kite with a broken string as he was smashed backward. The wings on his back were distorted. Kacha, with a crisp sound, the 5th-grade vibrating spirit wings couldn't help but fall back rapidly. They were distorted and broke. This time, Yi Qinghan's body fell to the ground. The essence and blood in his body were boiling. The friction produced a monstrous flame that drowned Yi Qinghan in an instant. Situ Wanli and Dongfang Haoyue stared coldly at Xianyuan Qinshao and Lu Guyun. They would definitely fight whoever dared to intervene. Tang Quan was also extremely miserable. The power of deity seas weighed at least 1,000,000 kilograms. With his old and weak body, his qi and blood were already dim. He didn't have much vitality left. At least half of his vitality was taken away by this slash. His face was as pale as paper and his vitality was reduced by more than half. His body flew backward for a few thousand meters before stopping. His eyes were overflowing with killing intent as he looked at Yi Qinghan who was falling rapidly. He twisted his waist and his body pierced the void like a sharp sword as he attacked Yi Qinghan. The experts on the square of the imperial capital fled one after another. The common people screamed in despair. This was a battle between immortals and mortals suffered. Lu Aotian, Emperor Yi, and the others were tense. They were sweating profusely as they prayed in their hearts, hoping that Yi Qinghan could block this attack. Yi Qinghan had a splitting headache. His body was covered in flames. He felt the killing intent behind him. He bit the tip of his tongue and stabilized his mind. His fingertips trembled slightly as he muttered to himself, "Water origin, bless my body." A water dragon appeared out of thin air and wrapped around Yi Qinghan's golden body. It extinguished the flames in an instant and lifted him up 100 meters. He suddenly turned around and slashed behind him. At this moment, he couldn't care less about exposing himself. It was a good move to kill someone. Berserk God slaying. Hua! A terrifying murderous intent shot out from the demon dragon saber. Yi Qinghan's aura suddenly changed and became crazed. His murderous intent filled the sky, and his cold aura was like that of a god of death. His body shot out like a sharp sword and ruthlessly smashed towards Tang Quan. Everyone's pupils shrank as their Tao hearts collapsed. Both the younger generation and the older generation had shock in their eyes. Yi Qinghan's combat strength was too terrifying. What did it mean to be invincible in the same realm? This was it. Although he was at a disadvantage when fighting against an expert at the great limit, no one else could do this. Tang Quan was more and more certain that Tang Sheng and the others had died in the hands of Yi Qinghan. His killing intent grew stronger. The sharp sword in his hand contained the supreme sword Tao. It broke through the void as the tip of the sword drew lightning and ruthlessly clashed with the tip of the demon dragon saber. Gotcha! The ear-piercing sound that tore through everyone's eardrums made countless experts on the ground unable to get up. Blood spurted out from their eyes and mouths as they were sent flying. Many commoners were shaken to death. Xian Yuanyu and Lu Pe used all their true energy just to protect the commoners in the city. They bore the brunt of the aftershock and were forced to kneel down. The stone slabs under their knees shattered and even their kneecaps were shattered. Pfff. Yi Qinghan spat out a mouthful of blood into the void. His body turned into a six-star and ruthlessly smashed into the ground. He fell from a height of a few hundred meters. In just a moment, a huge crater appeared in the square of the imperial capital. The entire imperial capital was shaking violently. Tang Quan let out a blood-curdling scream. His old flesh and blood were torn apart. The sword in his hand was broken into two and shot into the void. His body flew backward as his vitality was completely burned away. No matter who won today, he would die without a doubt. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.